Good evening, everybody, and welcome to tonight's Super Metroid Zelda 3 Randomizer Bracket Stage Tournament Race. I am Big Box, commentating alongside Sinus with Zeruvian on tracking. How you doing tonight, Sinus?
I'm doing pretty well, thank you. How are you doing?
Slept most of the day, but I do that a lot. Otherwise, I'm fine. All right, so we've got strizer86 versus bressinghamvoigt. You wouldn't happen to know how far into the brackets we are with this match, would you?
So this should be... Strizer got a bye in the first round, which I believe means that Bressingham would have been in the consolation and would have won one match in the final brackets to arrive at this position.
So round of 32, do I have that right?
Yes. Yes, correct.
Alrighty. What are we hoping to see from this seed, Scientist? Anything in particular you want?
I personally, being a runner, I try not to, I don't really believe in the commentator's curse, but I also don't wish that kind of stuff on other folks. I had a pretty good jet seed on Friday night where we both finished under 3 hours. We almost both finished under 2:30. So you never know with these things, though. So what I really like seeing is interesting routing and smart routing, and that's something that I know we'll see from Strizer. And Bressingham is a newer face to the community, but definitely subscribes to the Solsky playbook, and so routing is probably one of Bressingham's strengths as well.
Speaking for myself, my favorite seeds are the ones where there's lots of route divergence, as opposed to one way through who can do it fastest. Alrighty, we are underway.
Yeah,
right off the bat, you see Strizer doing arm pumping. When you tap L or R while you're moving in Super Metroid, it shifts you forward a pixel. You're not actually moving faster, but it comes to the same thing.
Yeah. So, yeah, one of the things about route divergence is, you get a lot of items early. Sometimes the logic gets a little bit confused. So you don't want it too linear, and you don't want it to have too many options at the beginning either. But certainly the more things you find early on, the more opportunities you have for route divergence. And seeing a map for Strizer and Sanctuary is already not what you want to see. You really want a key or an item there in the best case scenario. The map just means he knows he's going to have to check almost everything in Hyrule Castle. And it looks like he's setting up a Houlihan here.
Saw myself a red crystal at Eastern and a standard crystal at Hera. Did not catch Desert.
Meanwhile, Bressingham is immediately going to go to Uncle and checks out their tier 3 tree pool for just hearts. Still 2 more tree pools that could help out.
Uncle's got a penny. No, the moat chest has a penny, not Uncle. Now, Strizer86 doing Houlihan, that's what happens when the game doesn't know where to send you because you've desynced Link from the screen, so you go here.
Yeah. And this is a really nice route out of Sanctuary if you're committing to a Houlihan, because after you exit Houlihan, you always end up at Link's house. So if you do Sanctuary to Houlihan, then you don't have to save and quit to check out Link's house here. So a lot of experience showing for Strizer, knowing when and where he's going to end up at what time.
All right, trackers are Ruby and confirming we have crystals 5 and 6 at Eastern and Desert, so that means we have 3 pendants in the Dark World.
Wowzers. Strizer also getting that tree pool information, and not going to see any help from Uncle here either, and Bressingham setting up their own Houlihan immediately.
So basically these two have had the same opening, just done it in a different order.
Yeah, I'm not sure if Strizer took damage when he entered A Link to the Past through the portal, but that's one thing that might cause me to divert a little bit in the beginning. If you take you start out with a tier 3 tree pool when you arrive in Zelda, and so if you take damage from that Octorok or that bird, sometimes that can mess up your tree pool. into something that you don't want, and you may choose to save and quit instead.
Bressingham gets a bomb from the 50-50 bushes. Looks like Strizer is heading up toward Lumberjack to see if we're going to have to do AGA.
Yep. I personally am a fan of the southern entrance that Bressingham is doing here. One, you potentially are getting bombs early on and don't have to spend on them. But Strizer just finding red rupees on a different tree pool is not going to have to worry about money if he abuses that correctly.
And I believe I saw $50 at the library ledge. Ooh, Lumberjack ledge is the spacer. Not going to need that.
Literally the best place for that garbage beam. I mean, what?
We could still need... Ooh, there's magic powder in the back of the tavern. Anyway, we could still need AGA for Dark World access, but that would be it.
Correct, Blandation, nothing of value. We can be friends.
Bressingham spend some money for bombs that you'll have no trouble clearing at the Kakariko area. There's a heart in the Lost Woods.
Meanwhile, Bressingham going to be checking out, let's see, this is Chicken Hut. And unfortunately getting bombs immediately. That feels bad.
Meantime, Strizer finds a heart piece in the thieves' hideout in the woods. Is that what that is? Bressingham spends 100 rupees for super missiles from the bottle vendor.
And now we're going to get into some of the really dense checks in Kakariko Village, including the Well and Blind's Hut. This is usually where you get your first indication of what you should do next.
There's our first sword, more power bombs, and a red rupee. So we've seen 2 power bomb tanks already. The ideal is 3 because that means if the ice beam doesn't show up, you don't need to rely on drop luck or backtracking to clear out the Metroids and Torian at the end of Super Metroid.
15 is also a really, really handy number for clearing out the Brinstar loop. You can do it with 10 if you have... well, I mean, you can obviously do it with 5, but you have to do a lot of farming. But the ideal number is 15 for the Brinstar loop to not have to farm.
Yeah, there is a 3rd power bomb pack along with literacy in Blind's basement.
Today I learned that bunnies can't read. That was new for me.
Alrighty, so that book gives us access to Desert. What else do we need to do that? I know we need Pegasus boots to possibly finish Desert. What else might we need?
If you want a full clear Desert, you're also going to need a glove and a fire source to get back to Landless, but the majority of the checks can be done just with the book. And, you know, if you... so that's something really interesting that can happen is if you have a boots required desert, then you can do one of my favorite things to do in Hyrule Castle, which is called stealing a key, right? So if you can get into the back of desert and steal a key from on the way to the boss room, you can potentially check those 2 items in desert early. And I have seen it more than once, there being progression back there and it making a huge difference in a race.
Scout's already calling for a ped check, but I don't think we're going to get it just now. Not from Bressingham anyway, because he has reset back to Link's house.
That's a little surprising. So Bressingham was on a good trajectory to head up in and get that information. But also, you know, knowing that all of the pendants are in the Dark World, that there are potentially a lot of requirements to even get to Ped, and so gonna choose to let that sit for a little while, and maybe wrap it in with Skullwoods later.
Alrighty, Bressingham over to the hospital. 3 items here, and he can ask where the green pendant is if he likes. Nothing doing.
I like that Bressingham has confidently called off Eastern for now, right? Seeing all of seeing the book, seeing the sword, seeing lots of power bombs, kind of banking on finding something somewhere else in the other Sphere Zero checks that are available to them. And even gonna skip Dam and go straight to Moldworm Cave.
I feel like the book is pointing toward desert at this point, but there are. Okay, along here there are 6 checks, right? The 5 in Mini Moldorm and then the Ice Rod Cave.
Yep. I am a little bit surprised, and we'll see. Unfortunately, Bressingham's bomb landed in the air, or detonated in the air, so that's one of the wonkier things that can happen in that room when you clear it with bombs, is if it bounces and then detonates, it will actually go off above the moldworms, which is why you see goofy interactions like that sometimes.
And there's Hookshot and Shovel in Mini Moldorm, so that's not too bad.
No, that's a pretty good find. I'm now wondering if we're going to see some sort of access to Death Mountain. You see a hookshot at one of the... If you see a hookshot early in the seed, one of the maybe big things that you hope for is early Death Mountain access and picking up 7 or 8 checks with Paradox Cave and Spiral.
Bressingham's over to the dam. Looks like he is not going for Ice Rod Cave, at least not at this point. Uses the hook shot to save himself a trip back in, as Strizer's into the basement. Fisher Price shield.
And this is really good routing by Bressingham. So, taking the chance in doing a Moldworm Cave and then immediately abusing the movement of that hook shot is already saving him a little bit of time. And having not done Eastern, you can actually get to the second chest in Eastern significantly faster with the hook shot. So even if he does end up going back to Eastern, it's going to be much faster with the hook shot than just having walked into it immediately after Sahasrahla.
How many prizes are there in the dungeon?
In Eastern Palace, there are 3.
Oh, no, the castle dungeon.
Oh, the castle dungeon. So you have a map and a key, and everything else is a prize in there. I actually don't know the exact number now that you've asked me. But knowing that they picked up the map in Sanctuary, Strizer's going to know that he has to go the whole way down to the basement, not taking a page out of the Sinus playbook, unfortunately, and stealing the key. So one of the alternative things that you can do here is take the key from the Blue Guard and break the back of Hyrule Castle, as it's sometimes said, and go through the Dark Room to Dark Cross and to the Rear of Escape for 3 additional checks. But once you open that locked door, that's closed to you.
Sandra's in chat saying there are 6 prizes in the dungeon, along with that key and the map. So thank you, Sandra's.
I see now the method to the madness that is Bressingham seeing early that book and saying, okay, I'll do Moldworm Cave and then work my way left, and then going to the dam and routing in desert. That's a real heads-up play, even with so few items on the board so far.
Oh, fun. Yeah, Uncle on his box, I refer to that as the moat, and there's our next sword upgrade on the way to the Vanilla Big Key location in Desert. And the Big Key is, in fact, vanilla.
Oh my. I'm having flashbacks, Proa.
Yeah, that is pointing us toward Aga.
Yep, so they will still need a lamp before that becomes Unlogic, but it is not out of the question that that could be the one available Super Metroid item on the Morph pedestal, or it could be elsewhere in the seed. There's still a couple places we haven't seen yet.
Alrighty, there are 10 arrows on the torch, so we are not boots locked, but we are fire locked, which is always the case.
Yep. And Bressingham, another heads-up play here, having seen those 10 arrows, as well as the Master Sword upgrade, knows that they do not have to check the big chest in Desert, and nopes out of there immediately. Smart play.
Right, yeah, that was that both prizes in Desert? There's 2 total?
Yep.
Alrighty, so it looks like Bressingham is now heading to the dig spot.
Meanwhile, Strizer's going to give us our first look at Ice Rod Cave, which is one that Bressingham has orphaned for the moment in the name of efficiency of routing. We'll see if it comes back to bite them or not. And if you're Bressingham, I think right now you've got to go Eastern, right? Because there's 3 checks in there compared to the one in Ice Rod Cave. Also they haven't done Tyrol Castle yet.
Oh, there's our morph ball at Ice Rod Cave. Oh, jeez.
That's a thing. It's an orb, as they say.
Okay, so we know. Okay, so Bressingham has to get there at some point. Hopefully sooner rather than later.
Yeah. And I see, your hook shot and your morph ball and all your power bombs, and I'm thinking you got to get through that Bryn loop as efficiently as possible and get yourself to Business Center and Norfair and get over to Paradox Cave. I would bet all of my rando dollars that there's something over there and that morph is your access to Death Mountain right now.
Alrighty, Strizer did the fake flipper to head and check Hobo. Oh, can you? Yeah, I'm not as good at Link to the Past as I am at Zelda at Super Metroid. Can you explain the fake flipper real quick?
Sure. So there's a number of different ways that you can get a fake flipper here, but in the first of all, it only works in the Japanese version, which is the version from which the combo randomizer is generated. And so in the Japanese version of A Link to the Past, if you transition on the same frame that you are splashing into the water, the splash actually won't happen, and that will allow you to swim immediately. This is kind of similar in theory to the Ancilla glitch, which is, also keeps your splash from happening. You can also do this with the boots, and there is definitely a benefit to doing it with the Moon Pearl as well, because that gives you access to the waterfall.
Yeah. I've seen the Moon Pearl used for the fake flipper to Zora's Domain, then set up the water walk with the Waterfall of Wishing.
Yeah, I always try to wait until the very last check to try and gather 500 rupees. And potentially a Moon Pearl flippers or boots to get me all of those fake flipper checks in one. But, I'd say that happens about 50% of the seeds. Maybe
Meantime, Strizer did ask the Hotchrill about the green pendant, and it is Turtle Rock.
That's somewhat favorable news. It's favorable news until it's not, right? So, for now,
right.
Hoping that doesn't come into play, and you're not going to be searching for an ice rod throughout the whole seed until you know that that's the play. And despite different routing, both of our runners ending up in Eastern practically holding hands through the rooms.
Hashtag sync.
Yeah, I see some folks saying, this is not a bad play, and it's definitely not. You never want to get burned by Eastern, which is a Sphere 0 location, right? There are no items required to get the vast majority of chests in Eastern. You need a lamp for the big key chest, and you need a lamp and the bow and arrow in order to finish. So only 2 chests are potentially out of your reach, and if you can do the dark rooms, then only 1 chest is really out of your reach at the beginning of the game.
So we've seen 1 prize out of 3, I believe, and the compass.
Yep. So if Eastern were a pendant instead of a crystal, I would definitely be on board with checking this earlier. Being a crystal dungeon, though, you know you're going to have to come back and full clear this eventually anyway, and you've already got your breadcrumbs leading you to Brinstar, which is a ton of items to check, as well as Death Mountain and East Death Mountain with the hookshot. I may have chosen to put this off a little bit longer.
Right, so there's our first bottle. That also opens up the sick kid in Kakariko.
It does.
And Bressingham, I believe, is coming up to the dark rooms. Holding the spin charge and using the glow to navigate, Strizer's doing the same thing.
So I think Bressingham actually came into the dungeon a little bit behind Strizer, but is now taking a slight lead on them, which I think is a good testament to Bressingham's optimization of movement here. So that's, those little things can make the difference in the long run in the seed, and that's definitely the kinds of things you want to take note of during a race. What are these runners good at? What are they focused on? What are their strengths and weaknesses?
I think that's all 3 prizes in Eastern, meaning the Armos Knights have the map.
Yeah, because we definitely picked up the big key and the compass. So, yep, map on Armos Knights. So they'll probably, well, they certainly don't need to worry about it until much later in the seed before heading off to Ganon's Tower. And so they will most likely wrap that in with Pod if it is a crystal, and if not, they'll hold off on it until the very end, most likely. And both of them chasing that bottle immediately, trying to get some other indication of what might be going on. I'm thinking this is going to be a dead end, though.
Yeah, Sick Kid's just got $20 for us.
And I'm not sure if Strizer has checked the shovel yet. This might be
I
why
don't think
he's
he
headed
has.
in
I
this
think that's what
direction.
he's doing.
Oh, and Bressingham does not have the Morph Ball yet, so definitely going to be heading over to Ice Rod Cave at this point.
So both of our runners are sitting on 6 hearts, which is not... That's pretty good for this point in the game, I think.
Yeah, and you have the Masters, or at least Bressingham has the Master Sword available, which is a pretty good amount of offense to offset any amount of hearts that you might have. But 6 is pretty comfy until you start hitting Ice Palace, Misery Mire, Turtle Rock, things that are going to really wreck you with only green mail.
Looks like Strizer's making the play either to the dam, I don't remember if he did that yet, or he's heading for desert.
I'm betting on desert. Okay, Bressingham picks up their Morph Ball and is immediately going to reset back to the ship. So in SMZ3, whenever you do a reset in the game, you always go back to the Super Metroid menu and to the ship.
Bressingham sitting on 30 missiles, 15 supers, and 20 power bombs. Until we get to the point of needing to do bosses like Ridley, that's a really comfortable amount. Bressingham going for wall jumps up to the gauntlet area. This is not in logic.
Yeah, it's good routing nonetheless, though. This allows you to full clear basically all of Criteria, or at least scout everything that is there. And so I very much agree with doing Gauntlet first. It's definitely what I would do in this situation. And having 4 energy tanks, Bressingham's playing pretty aggressively here.
I believe the acid there is 1 damage per frame when you're so there's a lift upgrade. So that's locked by Canfly, which we get from either Morph Bombs or Space Jump. I believe the Gauntlet specifically is also in logic with the speed booster.
Correct.
Right, Bressingham's through the acid. He's setting up a double fall to get past both. There we go. Get to both items if he needs to. Space jump there.
So that's wacky. That actually means that somewhere else in the seed, the Morph Ball bombs or the speed booster is going to be coming into play to put both the space jump and the lift upgrade into logic.
Right, Bressingham heading down toward Brinstar, not going to backtrack and do the parlor area checks.
Yeah, most likely you're probably going to see them with, again, a full complement of 20 power bombs. It's very comfortable to head back up Blue Brinstar, because you're, even without refilling, you're going to have more than enough to do all of the checks and even scout shaft supers while you're at it.
Meantime, real quick, we got a Twitch Prime sub from Mad King Midas. Thank you for that. Roll knock balls through, which is not in logic, and I believe under the crumble bridge I saw silvers.
Yes, you did, and those are definitely in logic.
3 missile tanks in this room.
Similar to Bressingham, Strizer, with the heads-up play that having picked up both items in Desert is going to nope out without checking the big chest in Desert. A nice quick fall by Bressingham to get that without spending a power bomb and having to wait on the delay of the detonation.
Indeed, very well done. Bressingham heading down toward the Edequine area now, as Strizer is also going for the gauntlet wall jumps.
Yeah, so it's easiest to hit both of these consecutively here. So these require what are called delayed wall jumps. So there's a series of frames. It's not, you don't have to be against the wall to activate a wall jump. So you actually want to wait a little bit when you're pressing away from the wall in order to help you clear those. Meantime,
Bressingham has found the blue a tunic upgrade and 300 rupees in the Adequate area. There's one item left, but that is our Zora access.
We technically had Zora access. Oh, right. The glove is out of logic still.
Actually, wait, you're right. The glove is out of logic. That is not Zora access. I mean, we can get there, but it's not in logic yet.
Correct. Like that little D boost by Strizer there to get through. That's something that I don't think anyone else does, and the only reason that I occasionally do it is because I've seen Strizer do it.
Alrighty, Bressingham coming up on Big Pink. Now, how many items are there in the Brinstar loop? I've never really counted. Like 30-something, I think?
It's a bunch. I've never counted either because, in for a penny, in for a pound, you're going to get all of them except for Waterway in almost every situation.
Mission Impossible is even more power bombs. So depending on what the seed does, that's enough ammo for Bressingham to Crystal Flash twice if he needs to refill his energy. Maybe if he doesn't find Varia for a while, but he wants to dare Norfair. Sets up the super missile clip here by positioning himself in such a manner that the super missile accelerates and hits that block off screen to destroy it before it can despawn. That is how you skip Spore Spawn in the combo randomizer and Vanilla Super Metroid. And there's our gravity suit at Spore Spawn Missile Supers.
Yep, so that check at Spore Spawn is definitely in logic, right? You could go around and defeat Spore Spawn in order to get that. Doing this super missile block skip is just much, much faster. And Strizer's going to take that space jump and immediately check PBs in the sky and going to say, I wonder if there's something there immediately behind that, which we know the space jump is out of logic though, so this is probably a dead end.
Meantime, Bressingham gets the Wavegate clip to check another item, which is $20, same as Strizer just found in the Criteria Power Bombs. Charge Beam Chozo is +5 bomb capacity.
And I think Bressingham, out of habit here, has dropped another power bomb in anticipation of farming power bombs, because that is a very common location in which to do it, is to go down into waterway in order to farm more.
Green Hill Zone is blueberries.
And as suspected, Bressingham is going to wrap this up with a blue Brin loop. Meanwhile, Strizer may be looking like he's going to high-five and go the other direction on through.
Blue Brin, Retro Brin Power Bombs is just a missile tank. Morph Ball Pedestal is also missiles. We also have Alpha Missiles, Beta Missiles, Sealy Knee Tank, and Billy Mays right now. Billy Mays, I believe, is out of logic.
Trying to think. It should be doable with just power bombs.
Oh, there's our Hammeroid Alpha Missiles. But yes, you are correct. Billy Mays is in logic with just wall jumps. I'm not sure. I think the ceiling item is out of logic without high jump or can fly, but it's just a single arrow.
Yep. Strides are going to go ahead and scout out shaft supers here. Getting some nice quick wall jumps in. Oh my.
I don't believe there's anything grappling. I don't believe grappling beam can be considered progression on a normal seed, but I'm not 100% sure.
Well, we do have the gravity suit, so it does unlock Shack Tool with Space Jump available to them as well. Space Jump currently still out of logic, so I wouldn't sweat it for a little while yet. But
meantime, the hidden Billy Mays item was the Ether Medallion.
But knowing that Gauntlet is locked either behind Speed Booster or bombs, kind of gives you a 50-50 chance that grapple might mean something.
Strider and Bressingham just passing by each other here. Hooray Yogurt is called Billy Mays because you see one item, as Ruben said, but wait, there's more!
So I see that hammer, and you know what I'm thinking, Bacht, is I'm thinking Tower of Hera now, in addition to Paradox Cave and everything else on Death Mountain.
Okay, that access is through that hammer and hookshot, correct?
Yep. We've also got the powder, so Magic Bat is a potential play that's opened up as well.
Hammer and powder, again, is the only thing locking that, correct?
Yep.
I don't think we've seen Omega Missiles here, which, yeah, Bressingham heading for that.
Strizer checked this on his way down. He checked Bomb Torizo and Omega Missiles, and is kind of doing the reverse of what Bressingham's got going on here.
Okay, I must have missed what Strizer did again. Just a +5 arrow capacity.
Yep. I'm warming up to another strat routing that I've seen recently, which is some players when they've got the morph ball and they know that that's their first big progression item, they will, instead of transitioning to the ship, they will actually take the portal back at Lake Hylia and immediately check Omega Missiles, because it's right across the way, and go into Bomb Torizo before heading up to the Gauntlet. And that kind of opens you up a little bit to maybe not needing to do the elevator, or it's, if you find something like the Speed Booster there, or if you find progression there, then you get access to it much faster. If you don't, you're almost always going to route it as Bressingham has here, and it will take you a lot longer to get around to it. And some folks will skip it altogether by isolating it by itself.
Bressingham making a ship save to recharge. I agree with that call. Strizer is reversing out. Yeah, literally they're just crisscrossing what the other did.
Yep. And this save makes me think that Bressingham is probably heading for Wreck Ship. They do have So they don't have logical access to it yet, without having something to grant them either space jump or something with gravity to assist them in getting over. So I don't know that I would bet on wreck ship, but really, you're right here. Maybe you want to at least do half of it.
Normal Super Metroid logic does not consider the gravity jump, correct?
Right. So I think gravity and high jump is enough to warrant wreck ship access, or gravity and some other kind of can fly like morph balls or space jump. But as you mentioned earlier, space jump still not in logic for them yet.
Mode item is missiles, as in vanilla. Morph Ball Maze is heart piece. Sorry.
Yeah, so I see some folks talking about Super Metroid logic and it being a little bit confusing. It definitely can be, and especially when you're watching races where logic breaking, particularly in the combo randomizer, frequently yields benefits. It's a little bit harder to follow, right? Where somebody who strictly follows the logic actually has a much longer seed on average. But the long and the short of normal logic is, if the game teaches you the tech in some way, it's in normal logic for the combo randomizer. So that could be the demo at the beginning of the game where you're taught how to shine spark, or wall jump, or infinite bomb jump. All that stuff is considered in logic.
Meantime, Bressingham is coming up to Fantoon, he's RNG. That's all you can say. He can move in a fast, medium, or slow pattern before he opens his eye to take damage, and once the eye is open, he can also close it quickly, medium, or slow as well.
Yeah, Fantoon is definitely a gatekeeper boss for Super Metroid, and it's one that I still continue to struggle with. It's one thing to watch someone who's never fought Fantoon before do it, and then watch a novice speedrunner do it, and then to watch someone who's been doing it for years they're all very different.
Bressingham was going for Doppler strats there, which functions by moving toward him as you fire, so that you basically stun lock his eye open.
Yeah. It's called a Doppler after the scientific term where sound waves are compressed over a period of time, and that's kind of what happens. So your missiles can only be fired, I think, every 10 frames, right? But if you're moving towards the missiles with them, you're kind of compressing them into a smaller space, and it will allow you to hit Fantoon more times.
That is exactly how it works. Meantime, Bressingham hit Fantoon with a super missile that did not kill him, so he now has to do with the enraged state here. Which as you can see, is a pain in the butt to deal with, and it just wastes so much time.
But
looks like he just one missile off of the kill.
Yep.
Which is very unfortunate.
Yeah, but still some really clean movement to avoid all that damage there. There's still plenty of things that can go wrong in the rest of Wreck Ship. The enemies can do unexpectedly large amounts of damage. So good on Bressingham for, despite that mistake, making up for it with clean movement tech afterwards.
Yes, that was a very good Fantoon fight. Yeah, Fantoon actually takes double damage from the super missiles, so 600. So regular missiles do 100, and he has 2,500 health. So the idea is hit him with 19 regulars and then finish him with the super.
And Strizer's doing a slightly different read here, and I'm guessing is going to do X-Ray with that space jump. Far, no love really in Wreck Ship. So I'm thinking that, given the route that Strizer's taking here, he's played a lot of different Super Metroid hacks before, and so I would be surprised if he refills at the ship before heading to Fantoon.
X-ray item is our second bottle of the seed. Bressingham making a convenient save in wreck ship so that if the energy tank item is nothing, he can just reset here and save the time it takes to backtrack back.
And with space jumping gravity, there's really nothing to fear here, and it's actually faster not to save, even if the item is not worth the time to go and get. But that's just one of those optimizations that tends to come a little bit later in your career. Once you are very certain in your abilities in that moat room, you tend to skip that save whenever you have gravity. But picking up half magic there, Bressingham's decided to keep that, and I certainly don't blame them.
Alrighty, Strizer heading for the Spazer room. This is another item. Big heart. Okay, I believe Wreck Ship has... Look, how many more checks are there here? Attic, missiles in the sky, and then 3 in the gravity suit area.
Also got the one in the lower left underneath missiles in the sky.
He saw that already. That was nothing.
Oh.
Very clean attic cleanup.
And Strizer's gonna follow this gravity suit into Meridia. Oh my.
And finds the fire rod at missiles and the other lived upgraded Crab Super. So that is Speed Booster hard required.
Yep. And I am almost certain now that Speed Booster is hiding out somewhere, keeping our players from entering Wreck Ship and supposing to lead them to the space jump as well as that fire rod. And, Paradox Cave and Tower of Hera, not totally out of the question for that, as well as the Crate area and Business Center in Norfair.
Alrighty, Strizer now heading for Mama Turtle. Bressingham trying to do tight wall jumps here to check the speed booster item. So we've got it. That's our morph ball bombs. So that tells me that the speed booster is our logical access to Gauntlet.
Yep. So I guess, does that mean that both of our items are locked behind? Both of our gloves are locked behind Speed Booster here? Might be.
I think it does.
So Bressingham, we only covered it briefly. Oh, there's the bow in the sky as well. Wreck Ship has finally paid off.
Indeed.
But I was saying that, we kind of glossed over it. Bressingham is doing those wall jumps there to get the mid-air morphs. It's actually a little bit easier to do them from a wall jump because it's fewer inputs, although I personally probably would have checked it from the bottom.
Meantime, Strizer finds Zora's flippers at the beach and is now on his way to Watering Hole. Bressingham at the bowling show, so that's going to give him a 30-second break or so. Catch his breath, take a drink if he needs to.
I like that thought as well, Rushlight, that Ether Tablet is also in logic with both the hookshot and the hammer as well.
Meantime, Watering Hole turns up empty.
I mentioned that bow was a good find for Bressingham, not so much because it's progression, right? It's just Eastern Palace and the end of Pod, but combined with the silvers, it's going to make clearing bosses in A Link to the Past much faster. So its value might be underappreciated at first, and being out of the way in Wreck Ship, it's questionable how much worth there is to it until later in the game, but getting it early is definitely better.
And gravity suit item is just 10 more arrows. Meantime, Strizer's making the save so that he to make the checking the 2 sand pits more convenient.
So Strizer's going to set up a snail clip here. Again, this is a little unfortunate given what we know about the speed booster. Gets it first try, very nice.
For our 3rd sword and some missiles. Gonna save again because he wants to keep that sword. Don't blame him for that. Meantime, Bressingham is now at the top of the red tower. I don't think we've seen this yet.
Nope. And really, I guess the million-dollar question right now is, where is the Moon Pearl at? So we've already seen a variety of different progression items in both Wreck Ship and in Meridia. So, and we've also got Hammer Glove available, as well as the Titan's Mitts potentially as well. So yeah, we got to find that.
Alrighty, right sandpit has a red rupee, and our 3rd bottle. Alpha Power Bombs is missiles, and missiles behind Alpha Power Bombs is the red meringue. And sand pits are not paying out today.
Yeah, I'm a little wary of the Meridia play from Strizer here. I know he found the Titan's Mitts here, which is a great find, and having the knowledge of the Fire Rod is really, really good, but without the speed booster or the ice beam, you've really limited your ability to check anything in here. And having Hammer Glove already is really, the Titan's Mitts are not helping out Strizer that much.
And yeah, as you said about coming over without speed booster, we saw that the Fire Rod is at Main Street Missiles.
Yep. Unless you've got some crazy elevator Crystal Flash blue suit shenanigans, you're not getting it.
Alrighty, meantime, Strizer is heading over to Kraid's Lair. That'll be his first Super Metroid boss. His first boss, period, so. Kraid PBs are blueberries. No, that's a missile. Duh.
And Strizer going to take a whack at Kraid here. We'll see if he gets any speed strats available. I'm a little concerned only having 3 missiles here. If he tries the missile setup, he's going to run out after 1 try, realistically. Just barely sneaks it in there, so that was very nice recovery and save by Strizer there. So the exact frame that his mouth gets stuck open on is where you want to hit him with the super missile to get it stuck like that. And it was just about to close again, but Strizer got that 4th super in there and pulls off the Kraid quick kill. Not the Quaid, quick kill.
All right, meantime, Bressingham and Strizer are going to cross paths again. And there's one more item in here that Strizer can now check with Kraid defeated.
I'm kind of hoping the routing Strizer has taken here is going to lead him to Business Center and East F Mountain, which is where we are reasonably sure, that they have had direction to get to since very early on in the seed.
Honestly, I don't think there's a lot left that he can check other than Death Mountain.
Okay, and on Bressingham's screen, we saw the slightly different missile setup. So with that one, you want to fire 2 missiles as quickly as possible. And one missile is to cause his mouth to open, the other is to get it to stay open. And you actually only need 3 supers if you hit Kraid with a regular missile. So the time frame after getting it activated is a little bit more forgiving, but the initial setup is a little bit more unforgiving.
High jump boots are a reserve tank, which Strizer takes for some reason I can't fathom.
Well, I mean, no Variasuit. Strizer is no stranger to doing suitless Norfair runs, and it's when you've done enough of those, you start to be okay with picking up a reserve tank or 2.
Crocomire escape is just blueberries. Strizer taking the cross-game transition to Death Mountain. Looks like he's not going to try to rescue. Yes, he is. The old man.
And Bressingham is immediately going to check the out of logic ice beam and crumble tower location here. This is pretty dangerous. Without having taken a save, this could be very problematic. He does not have enough supers for a refill.
And he just finds $20 here, so this is going to be a real challenge for him to get back out. I mean, he can do it, but if he takes any damage, then he will not make it.
Yep. He gets hung up there a little bit and just barely makes it out. I would not be checking Crumble Tower here. I mean, there's a really nice mock ball set up to avoid the damage, and Bressingham thinks better of it. I'm proud of you for doing the safer play there. You really don't want to be undone by an out of logic check there.
Did we see what the old man had when Strizer rescued him? I missed it.
I missed it as well. There was so much tension on Bressingham's screen, I couldn't take my eyes away. And Bressingham,
I know the feeling.
Probably hoping for an energy tank bailout and going to be taunted with this reserve tank here.
Meantime, top of Spectacle Rock is the blue boomerang, and inside is, I don't remember, I didn't quite catch what it was.
Must not have been important. Strizer's leaving it behind.
I'm Bressingham now into Paradox Cave, so named because the stairs layout is just like what?
Yeah. So the cave elevations outside are actually of a lower elevation than one of the other entrances, but when you're inside, they're reversed. Let's see, what else? Strizer has an interesting option that you don't get to see very often in A Link to the Past, which is doing the Super Bunny glitch. He's got the mitts, so there is a possibility of doing 2 checks in Dark World, but without the mirror, it will be the last thing he does if he chooses to do it at all.
There's Arcane of Samaria. Now, real quick, is there a dungeon layout that can result in Samaria not being required?
Certainly. So you would need to have to find the Ganon's Tower big key would have to be in Hope Room or Tile Room or anywhere on the left side, and then you would also need Misery Mire and Turtle Rock to be pendants. But it's definitely happened before.
Gotcha.
Yeah, and it's kind of nerve-wracking too to not have Samaria and walk into GT. I mean, it's one thing to go in there with boots where only one of your checks potentially locks you out, but almost half of those first floor checks are locked by the cane in there. So it's a real nail biter walking into there.
Alrighty, Strizer taking the Ether Tablet. Who was it that said they hope this is Speed Booster?
I don't remember who said it, but it was a good thought for sure. Bressingham coming up with the same play here. The difference being that Strizer has done some Meridia and Bressingham has done some all of Wreck Ship.
Alrighty, what are we hoping to see that... Okay, we don't have a fire source, so what are we hoping to see in terms of layout to keep us from having to go to the basement?
Oh well, Big Key's basically got to be in this next chest. That's it. Although Strizer has the hook shot, so I don't know if he knows the Hera pot clip or not. I don't know it. But I think it's possible with the cane and the hook shot.
Alright, so Hera has two prices. We saw one of them in the basement we can get to, the missile tank.
Bressingham also picking up their Cane of Samaria. I think Cane of Samaria is my favorite item in A Link to the Past. I really wish you had gotten it earlier in the vanilla game. It's so cool that you can create a block just to set down on switches or use as a weapon. It's super versatile, and it's one of the reasons I love the randomizer for A Link to the Past is you get to make a lot better use of that item for longer periods in the game.
Alrighty, that is both prizes in Tower of Hera. The second one was an energy tank, so that means that either the small key has either locked itself in the basement or... Actually, no, the small key cannot be on Moldorm, correct?
To the best of my knowledge, no, it cannot. Very similar to Thieves' Town, Blind cannot be holding the small key either.
Alright, so that means we are guaranteed to get the map from Moldorm here.
Yep. And I don't think either of our runners have checked Spiral Cave yet, which is sound routing, right? You don't want to jump down Spiral Cave and then have to walk back up Paradox Cave. This is something that obviously both of our runners have some experience with and are well prepared to navigate Death Mountain without the mirror and know the best order to take things in. So bravo on both of them.
Oh, he can have the small key because he just did. So that means the map is locked in the basement.
Oh my.
No, the compass.
Well, the transitive property clearly is broken.
Alrighty, so that is the first Link to the Past boss down for Strizer. Bressingham's in the same area. So what's left to check?
So we do have a Spiral Cave. We've also got Magic Powder to check, or Magic Bat, excuse me, to check as well. And it looks like Bressingham is setting up the Herapot glitch actually for us. And Thalfin, thank you very much for the detailed explanation as to why Moldorm can have the small key, but Blind cannot.
Spiral Cave is at the +5 bound capacity, and Axel Higgs saying that Zora and Ledger and Logic. The vanilla sequence gets you there with just the Power Glove, correct?
Well, to Zora, yes, correct. We also have the Waterfall of Wishing is available with the flippers as well, which is one advantage that Strizer has over Bressingham here, because those were found in Meridia.
Meantime, Strizer is checking the back of the escape sequence.
Although, I don't know. No, I don't think those flippers are in Logic yet. And there's our Moon Pearl.
don't remember if the super missile clip that got us to gravity is in logic on normal. Although there's no reason they couldn't have done it the long way by going to spore spawn.
Right, exactly. All they're doing is shortening that with that glitch. It's not required. So yes, that's definitely in logic.
Right, so that is our Dark World access. Aga is dead.
Yep, and so here we see a perfect example of stealing a key in Hyrule Castle could have saved these runners a lot of time in figuring out where the Moon Pearl was. Although that elusive speed booster, I'm still wondering, scratching my head where that's at. That's gotta be around somewhere.
Oh, yeah, with that Moon Pearl, we've got access to a lot of the Dark World. And as a matter of fact, that also... can we get to Dark Ice Rod with what we have?
Yes, exactly. Strizer definitely can.
That is backdoor access to Dragon.
Yeah, I think those flippers are still out of logic without a way to get through the very large Meridia Room, because gravity jumps are not in logic.
I believe they call that Mount Everest. Although, right. Yes, Space Jump is still out of logic, so... Ooh, Turtle Rock is Bombos. And Strizer chasing that Moon Pearl.
Yeah, and very nicely going to... looks like we have a red pendant at Swamp, a blue pendant at Thieves, and the rest are normal crystals.
Okay, so... Alright, so that means Kid of Samaria was required, since Meyer is a crystal. Strizer in Hookshot Cave for 4 prizes. My god, this heat is just inundating us with power bombs. And there's battle number 3. Actually, Hank is making a logic point. Hammer, Pearl, and One Glove were in fact in logic, so speed can be in the Dark World.
I suppose it can be. What a strange what a strange progression of items. This is why some folks prefer hard logic, is the more tricks that you have available to you, the more likely you are to stay in logic or to get back to it quickly.
Alright, the thief in Hype Cave has the ice rod, so won't need to hunt for that. There's our lamp, that red shield, and super missiles. That's not a bad Hype Cave.
Yeah. Although, I wouldn't be surprised if both of our players could survive without either of those items in a seed like this. So I'm going to give the probably a 3 out of 10 on Hype Cave. That lamp is just going to make things a little bit faster, but mostly a convenience item.
Alright, it looks like Bressingham's heading up toward the pyramid. Okay, I just realized. Ice Palace, no, not Eastern is in logic with the bow and the torch, bow and the lamp. Desert is in logic. That means Pyramid Fairy is in logic.
So it is. And Strizer's going to give us a read on the pedestal here. Oh my!
That would be our charge beam.
So, getting the shoop to whoop meme on the ped there. Charge beam is no longer required to complete Ridley in the latest version of the randomizer, so that's probably one of the first times we've seen that text on a race stream.
Yeah, the chat is saying that Eastern is not in logic because Boat was not in logic because Red Ship required can fly, but I think they're right.
Yep.
So once again, it comes back to where the heck is the speed booster?
Yeah. Well, with that really wonky series of events that led us to Dark World access, it could be quite a while before we see it, although you would not expect it to be hidden by anything with the mitts, right? So not going to be mire, not going to be ice, not going to be Turtle Rock or any of the East Dark Death Mountain stuff. More likely Village of Outcasts or some one of those other dense locations.
Alrighty, Strizer, I believe, is into Skull Woods. He cannot finish this because he doesn't have that fire rod yet. There's one of our 2 prizes. Meantime, Bressingham is doing pod.
And Strizer's getting some bad luck here in Skull Woods. This is why I prefer to do the middle section of Skull Woods first. This room is sometimes called the Room of Requirement, because if you don't get a key in one of those first 2 chests, you have to backtrack to this key in order to get back out when falling through that hole. And it happens just often enough to be really annoying. And worth routing around.
Right, Axel Higgs taking a tally. Second glove, fire rod, space jump, grapple, more bombs, and bow are all locked by the speed booster. Pardon my language here for a little bit, but this seed, what is even the hell?
I think many members of chat have it correct here. Strizer just picked up their second item in Skull Woods, so hopefully just gonna go ahead and leave Skull Woods behind.
Right, so just have to come back later to get the crystal.
Yep. I'm not sure how I feel about this pod play by Bressingham. Yes, it does have 5 items. Yes, it is full clearable, but it's such a pain to navigate pod without the mirror. And you know the mirror, actually we don't know if the mirror is required because Swamp Palace is a pendant. So I guess maybe that's an okay play if you're not ever expecting to find the mirror. But I would probably choose to leave this until a little bit later.
What else needs to happen in the layout for mirror to not be required?
No progression to be hidden behind it. So, not finding the mirror is one of the biggest blessings and curses in A Link to the Past seed, right? Because all of those mirror checks are really spread out. And all over the place, but there are a lot of them, right? So not finding it is a good thing from an overworld checks perspective, but it really slows down your dungeon routing in places where you have to backtrack frequently, like pod.
Alright, meantime, Strizer's into the Village of Outcasts getting those checks done. Bressingham is heading toward the back of pod, toward the Dark Maze. Chest game is 10 arrows.
And now that Bressingham has arrived at the back of pod, we're going to start seeing a lot more items coming up. If you're a professor of key logic in pod, you know that you know where the keys can be and where they can't be. But I believe it's 4 out of the 6-ish keys that are in pod have to be in the first 4 chests. So it's usually, pretty barren in the front, and you don't start to see dividends until the back.
And there's our high jump in the front of Thieves Town, and the Pegasus boot at the Harmless Hellway.
Interdimensional double shoe find. What is this?
Alrighty, let's name into the Dark Maze. There's an energy tank. Strizer has to find the big key for Thieves Town in that front 4 because the back is locked by a big key door. Bressingham finds the big key for pod about 1 screen transition away from the big chest. There's the compass.
Yeah, I'm really worried. Well, I mean, the boots are a good find in that they're going to generally speed up Bressingham's traversal through the seed, but I'm a little. Was that an intentional death? Probably.
I think that was maybe not because he's heading back in.
Oh, yeah, so he's just routing without the mirror, right? So he took an intentional death so that he could get back to Helmasaur King a little bit faster, rather than
Okay.
reversing through Dark Maze. So that's some pretty heads-up routing overall. But as I was saying, I'm a little worried that Bressingham might get bogged down by some of these boots checks or might get excited by them, right? But we've already seen that Desert is not boots locked, and so the likelihood of finding progression behind them is a little bit lower. And so Pod, yes, is going to make Bressingham move faster throughout the world, but overall, not boots are not considered progression here, I don't think. Or at least it's very unlikely.
Gotcha.
So Strizer's going to go check out the digging game here, and with the mitts, this is the smart play, right? You don't want to go and do the Smith chain first. You definitely want to do this because the guy who runs the digging game is kind of a jerk and won't let you do it if there's more than one person there.
That was only 3 digs for a 50 rupee bundle, which is got there quickly, which is not bad. Bressingham is coming up to Helmasaur King. I believe it's 17 whacks with the hammer to break the mask, and then it'll just be 1 silver arrow to the cranium to finish him off.
Yep.
Strizer is heading for the Haunted Grove.
Oh my, there's the mirror.
Well then.
So I think if you're Strizer, you gotta do the South of Grove check, and then immediately take the Smith back and commit to the purple chest as well.
That is absolutely a good play. K45 is just 10 arrows, as Bressingham gets his second crystal.
Getting a save and quit from Bressingham here. Yeah, he's gonna chase those boots. And the worst part of it is not having the mitts or the mirror to wrap in King's Tomb with it as well.
Yeah, Strider can also check the magic bat while he's in this area.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it occurs to me that we haven't seen that yet either.
And that was in logic fairly early, I believe.
Yep. As soon as we found the hammer in Blue Brinstar.
Smiths charge you $10, give you 20 back, as you do. I think looks like Bressingham is double checking number deck ledge.
I don't think Bressingham has been there yet. Strizer definitely checked it earlier.
Right.
What do we got here?
Dalphon, yes. Fire Rod is locked by speed because it's at Meridian Main Street Missiles.
This is where we're really going to start seeing some opportunity for Strizer to maybe take a big lead here. So having had the mitts, Strizer is making many more efficient plays throughout Village of Outcasts here. So, one, you can just get to the Dark World faster, and two, you can clear all of these checks much, much more quickly, and there are no one-way streets through Village of Outcasts like there are if you don't have the Titansmiths. So, until Bressingham makes a play to Meridia, it's really, Stryzer's got to make sure that he's capitalizing on those myths as much as possible.
Lunchbox is +5 arrow capacity. And I would, if I'm Stryzer at this point, I go east and I check the Bombos tablet.
Yep, definitely. Definitely something you want to do if you're doing Purple Chest anyway.
Spring Ball!
It's one of my favorite movement items in Super Metroid. You don't really get to respect it until, you start really figuring out better ways to move through rooms in a randomizer, or you start doing Suitless Meridia.
Yeah, I say the same thing about the high jump boots. You don't consider how good they are until you have to play without them.
Let's see. Wreck Ship is in logic by gravity and high jump right now. The skipping stone trick is no longer required in normal logic.
I believe that was only required in version 10.1.
I think it might have even been earlier than that. I think we changed it. I say we. I have no part of this at all whatsoever. Although I think I was involved in the race in which it happened, where skipping stone was actually required for progression, and my opponent unfortunately did not know the trick or did not know that could happen, right? And so that was in the first or second 1v1 tournament we had, and it was later removed from normal logic anyway.
Yeah, Rushlight saying it was taken out in 10.2.
So, Stryzer's going to be checking the pyramid as well as Trollfish here, if I had to guess. I think it's a little unlikely that he goes into pod before checking Trollfish.
I don't remember if we saw the pyramid item earlier, but yeah, it's just missiles.
I'm pretty sure Bressingham checked the pyramid, but not Catfish. And this is actually really fortunate for Stryzer, who has the flippers, is going to be able to mirror to the waterfall of Wishing Cave as well as all the Zora checks. So this has all really fallen into his lap very nicely. And he's also got the hook shot to continue westwards afterwards as well, to do Mirror Ledge and potentially scout the item on Bunker.
But it looks like Stryzer's going to buy some Mountain Dew Voltage with his plethora of rupees.
Don't spend it all on drinks there, Stryzer. You still got to pay the mobster here.
He had almost 1,500. Alrighty, looks like Bressingham is now into Thieves Town. I don't think Stryzer finished this.
Well, that's a good question. I think he did exit almost immediately. It is a pendant, so a very common strategy in Thieves Town is just to check the front four and then peace out of Thieves Town.
Catfish has an energy tank for us. That's always welcome.
Although, having not found anything in Hera or on Ether Tablet of real value, I'm hesitant to write off Thieves Town entirely, because you've got one check in there that's locked behind the hammer.
Zora Ledge is a red rupee. And Arch Place, you are correct, this is not Super Metroid. This is the Super Metroid and Link to the Past combo randomizer.
Bressingham taking another intentional death here in order to navigate Thieves Town. Looks like he is also planning to nope out after the first ford.
Arch Place stuff. The simple version is that Super Metroid and A Link to the Past don't share any relevant memory addresses in the Super Nintendo's memory space, so it's actually possible to just overlay them into one big ROM, connect them with transitions between the two games, and play them both.
Yep, so as Stalfon mentioned, there are 4 locations in which you can switch between the games. One of them is the Fortune Teller's Hut by Lake Hylia in the Light World. You've also got a cave on Death Mountain that leads to Business Center in Norfair. We've also got Dark Ice Rod Cave leads to the back of Meridia near Dragon. And we've got one more, which is escaping me at the moment. Oh, right, one of the Meyer Sheds leading to Lower Norfair near Golden Teresa.
Alrighty, Strizer. Yeah, Zora did not pay off for Strizer, so what is he doing now?
I think he's doing precisely what we talked about earlier, maybe taking that hookshot on over to Northern Dark World to check out Mirror Ledge and Bumper Ledge. Although Bumper Ledge is only scoutable, not reachable. At least
that
not
requires the cape, right?
Yes, or cheating, at least by the rules of this tournament.
King's Tomb. Strizer can check King's Tomb, right?
Not without the boots.
Oh, there's our speed booster.
Oh my!
Finally.
Wowzers! So, Pearl, Hammer, and a glove behind Gravity Suit and Morph Ball, and and then you had to pick up the mirror from the cave south of Grove, which finally led you to the speed booster, which gets you Mitts and Space Jump. So Strizer's got all the pieces back together.
Strizer is also sitting on 50 missiles and 50 supers and 110 regular missiles, which is plenty to finish the game with. So there is absolutely no way he's getting that charge beam.
Yeah, I mean, ideally, Strizer's going to run into the Ice Beam, hopefully sooner rather than later. But in order to do a version of the Zeb Skip, you could also do it with Speed Booster, although that one is considerably more difficult.
And there's also nothing stopping them from just destroying the Zebatites and then reloading at the recharge room after the Baby Metroid if necessary.
Yeah, but, you know, there's still a lot of game left, so hopefully, best case scenario, you run into that Ice Beam.
Yeah, I don't want to call a lead at this point. I generally don't like to until someone's in go mode. But I think Strizer has the advantage right now.
I would say that's a great way to call it, is advantage Strizer right now. Although Bressingham is about to pick up their speed booster as well. And Strizer's currently doing things that Bressingham has already done. And we know, really, it's only the bow in here that's going to pay any dividends. So Bressingham's got an opportunity to catch up if they chase that speed booster and gravity suit immediately.
I think that all we have left for Super Metroid Go mode is Variant Suit.
Sounds about right.
Yeah, I say this a lot during races, that Super Metroid's Crystal Slow percent is only 15 items, and 9 or 10 of those are just ammo or health.
Whoop. Looks like Strizer
Oops.
ran tune with a super missile instead of a regular missile. Oh, is Bressingham setting up a bomb jump here? Nice. So that's a really cool set of fake flipper tech that you don't get to see very often. So Bressingham does not have the flippers that Strizer has access to. And so what they've done is thrown a bomb on the right frame, jumped into the water, taken damage down to the transition, and hit the transition on the frame before the splash happens, and gotten across it that way.
Yeah, Urkosak, I haven't seen that one before either. That was very cool.
So that tech came out not too long before the Ancilla glitch. I personally, I know what the Ancilla glitch is, but I've never used it for anything. So that one's newer tech, I think, in the last year. But
what exactly is this Ancilla you're talking about? I've never heard of that.
So the Ancilla glitch has to do with, and this is where the super low percent Link to the Past runs have come in. Basically, you can delete sprites from the game if you have too many sprites on the screen, right? So one of the things that you might see someone do is access Zora Ledge by dropping 2 bombs and shooting 2 arrows and then jumping in. And in this case, it's known as splash deletion, because when you have that number of projectiles on the screen, the game can't load your splash animation, and you obtain fake flippers essentially by doing that. And you can get the Zora Ledge item by jumping off that waterfall. You can.
Okay, it's a sprite overload glitch.
Right, essentially, yeah.
Yeah, I have seen, now that you've described it, I have seen it before.
Oh, okay.
Just didn't know that's what it was called.
It's similar. You can do it to delete other sprites though as well. So it's, lots of people call it splash deletion, but you can do more than delete splashes with it. I have seen other runners in this tournament who do like low percent A Link to the Past. You can delete heart containers doing this and keep your hearts very, very low in an A Link to the Past run.
What reason is there for doing that other than saving time, saving the item jingle?
It doesn't even save time, I don't think. It just makes the low percent lower, so to speak.
Okay, it's just flexing.
Yeah.
Remind me, in Vanilla Link to the Past, every boss drops a full heart, correct?
Yep.
Okay, so would you be able to delete those too?
You can. I don't know if you can do it on Armos Knights. I think you can. As long as you have the bow, it can be done.
Bressingham going postal on Dragon. Drops a power bomb to clean up the goo. This cycle should finish him, or not. So this got. I believe what the taskers figured out that to escape Dragon's grip is 75 button presses.
Yeah, I know it's a specific number of inputs. I don't know the exact number. I can tell you that it's 20 supers to kill Dragon. I know that one.
Which I was actually not aware of how much health he had, but if he has 20 supers, then that means he has 6,000. Because supers do 300 damage.
I can't remember if Dragon is one of the bosses that supers do double damage to, so it might be 12. But
I don't think so, but I'm also not 100% sure. Alright, so that is now 3 Super Metroid bosses down for Bressingham, but Ridley is out of logic until we find that Varia suit.
Some folks are questioning the veracity of doing the back of Meridia, but what Bressingham knows is that he's got the speed booster, right? So he knows all of Meridia is in logic, and many players of SMZ3 consider going back to front of Meridia to be a slightly more efficient clear. So if you're gonna do it, and you have the option to do it from the back, it's generally a good idea to do so. But without the flippers, it of course required Bressingham to fake flipper to get there, which he has certainly shown that he's capable of.
A speed booster gives Bressingham his third sword. All right, Bressingham making his save to check the sand pits, as Strizer is coming up to the bowling chozo.
I think he just clipped through the arm there. That was some Frozen level stuff going on there. So we had one set of gloves in the front of Gauntlet, and we had a second set of gloves in Main Street, but not Main Street missiles.
Yeah, it's called Crab Supers.
Crab Supers, that's what it is. Well, again, Bressingham's going back to front, so he'll eventually get there, and he'll pick up the fire rod while he's at it. Since he's going from Dragon to the front, it just hasn't been routed in just yet.
It looks like Strizer's going to go ahead and get those more ball bombs, which I agree with. He's right here, and it's a convenience item at this point, but it will make sure that he can't soft lock by running out of those power bombs.
I don't know. You got 35 power bombs, high jump boots, space jump, and speed booster. I think that's just a waste of time at this point. But to each their own. If it saves you from one soft lock, it's worth it.
Right. Meantime, Bressingham is back. Yeah, Bressingham doing the reverse Meridia route, like you said.
So I think Bressingham is actually going to find his flippers here in Meridia, somewhat ironically, since he had to fake flipper to get here.
He's probably wondering what the heck the logic is expecting him to do at this point. Alright, meantime, Strizer heading down the East Criteria Brindstar elevator to the Red Tower. I don't remember if he's done this. No, he hasn't.
Yeah, I think he did Blue Bryn to... Oh, no, he did Blue Bryn to X-Ray and down, I think.
Yeah, he called off Meridia. He did the front of Meridia to the aqueduct, and then he noped out.
So Strizer's looking for a various suit here. I think is one of the only things he could be looking for. Maybe a flute or an ice beam. But he knows where the fire rod is, so I think you got to start considering that that you got to pick up that fire rod pretty soon and start figuring out where that gets you.
Tell me these plasma Strizer cannot check plasma because he hasn't beaten Dragon. Bressingham can check him, but I don't know if without plasma beam, I don't know if the tech required to defeat the pirate and open the door is in logic.
And it looks to me like Strizer's gonna gate glitch here and head to Waterway. So worst case scenario is we've got like a Varia Shack tool right now. I mean, the grapple beam is now in logic, right? And it's one of the only checks that we can't really do right now. At least not in logic. You really need an ice beam or the grapple beam, or you need to be somebody who can do a crystal flash into Shack Tool.
Grapple beam is in logic. It's a chap supers.
Yep. Yeah, so that's why I'm starting to sweat a little bit here.
Oh, you're worried that we're going to have a Shack Tool check.
Yeah.
I misunderstood. Stargazer, my personal hope is that Showcase Showdown is progression.
I don't think Bressingham checked Plasma, and it's not in logic with their current item set. They would need Plasma Beam or Screw Attack for normal logic. For hard logic, you can, of course, get out of there with Shine Sparks and kill the pirates with Shine Sparks. So it was checkable, most likely by both of our runners, given the tech that they have shown us here. But it is a one-off check, and not being in logic, I definitely agree with leaving it behind for now.
Junior Dad, no, I don't think there's anything. Yeah, I think all of the prizes can be split between either game. I don't think there's any that have to be in their native game. Albioli makes a good point. Pseudo Screw might put the pirates in logic if you had the charge beam, but I'm not 100% sure.
I don't.
And I know I know the game teaches you the Pseudo Screw in the attract demos.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's definitely in hard logic, but I don't know if it's in normal logic or not. Pseudo Screw does kill the plasma pirates. It just takes 2 hits. So it may appear that you're not doing damage, but you can in fact kill them with 2 pseudo screws. You're welcome.
Looks like Strizer's gonna finish up the Meridia loop here. This whole scene has just been a story of both of our runners do something and then do the thing the other person did. This whole scene's been like that.
Yep. So let's see. I don't know that we have actually found anything behind flippers yet. So, you know what I'm thinking, Bakht?
Do tell.
Ice Palace.
Ew.
So we've got the fire rod, right, that was locked behind the speed booster, and we have the flippers that technically haven't led us to anything yet. So, yeah, I'm thinking Ice Palace might be one of the first things that Strizer or Bressingham do with that fire rod. Yeah, I'm not saying that there weren't items that could be gotten with the flippers. I'm saying that there was no progression there, right? And so,
right.
Speaking to members in chat, so very often when you get a progression item that opens up new checks or opens up new places that you couldn't go before, usually you kind of want to keep in the back of your mind, hey, has this led to anything yet? Because if it hasn't, chances are it's going to eventually lead you to something.
Did Bressingham check precious missiles? I don't remember. But it doesn't matter, it's just blueberries.
Yeah, probably. It's hard to imagine a scenario in which they wouldn't have.
Flashlight and check confirming Pseudo Screw is not in logic for normal. Thank you.
And Strizer considering some Shine Spark strats for Dragon here. Meanwhile, Bressingham seeing that Fire Rod making the call to head on over to Ice Palace. And we've got some more new tech that we could potentially see here in Icebreaker. This seems like something that Bressingham would know. I'm not sure if Strizer knows it yet or not.
So how many prizes are there in Ice Palace?
3 total. There is actually interesting point in the randomizer. There's an extra key in Ice Palace because of the possibility to soft lock yourself in Ice Palace if you misuse your keys. So rather than having 4 prizes and assuming that you won't soft lock yourself, the game assumes that you will if you can, and instead only puts 3 prizes in there.
Interesting. Alrighty, Dragon is just hiding +5 bomb capacity. We probably saw that on Bressingham's side earlier.
Yep, and looking like Bressingham is going to show us Icebreaker.
You know, what purpose does I know Icebreaker is a time save, but what purpose does it serve in terms of the logic?
In terms of the logic, almost none, right? If you have the cane, you can do it and save yourself a lot of time because you don't have to do the bomb jump. You don't have to go through the Stalfos room. There's just all kinds of stuff that requires you to take damage or take a long time to get through. You know, if you do the Icebreaker glitch here, though, you're pretty much immediately rewarded with a bunch of chests with much, much more efficient routing. So, I think Icebreaker of the 2, and there's a hilarious Bombos location for you.
Gotcha, so it's a convenience thing.
Yes, yeah, so nothing from a logical standpoint, but it will definitely shave significant time off of your Ice Palace clear.
Gotcha.
And looking like Strizer are going to make the same exact read.
Bressingham finds the Ice Palace big key right above the big key room, but he looks like he's not going to drop down and check it immediately.
I think he's got iced tea to do yet.
Yeah, this is a crystal anyway, so we would have to do this eventually. Meantime, Strizer is now following in Bressingham's footsteps. What do you look like Bressingham is just about the cold stare.
Yeah, and there's an interesting point that you made earlier, Oct, that at least now that we've gotten the speed booster and the fire rod and everything, Desert Palace and Eastern Palace are both completable now. So I am wondering about that Dark Pyramid Fairy.
Indeed.
Possibly.
Bressingham drinks some of his Mountain Dew Code Red. And then doesn't take any. Yes, he does take more damage, but yes. Oh, Cold Stare has the map, and that's Ice Palace. And that's Ice Palace down. Alrighty, what does Bressingham do now?
I don't know if Bressingham has been to Skullwoods yet. So I'm wondering if that is something that they want to invest some time in. We know that it's a dead end at this point, though, other than the crystal that is required.
Bressingham checking Zora's domain. Looks like Strizer did not do the icebreaker strat based on what I'm seeing.
Yep. And Bressingham is headed back to Death Mountain. Gonna pursue that Bombos that looks like into Turtle Rock.
Alrighty. He can pull clear Turtle Rock if he needs to. So that's the Turtle Rock items, Mimic Cave, and the Green Pendant, possibly.
I'm not 100% sure. I mean, this is chasing the logic, is what it is, right? So you picked up the Bombos, which was behind the Flippers and Fire Rod, and you're using that to make the assumption that there's something at Turtle Rock, which there absolutely could be. There's a whole bunch of prizes in Turtle Rock. I think there are 5, maybe more than that. Plus 1 for the Green Pendant, right? You've also got the Ice Rod, and Ice Rod is not something you ever want to base your logic on, right? Ice Rod can be anywhere for any reason. Whether it's required or not, it can be anywhere except GT. So, this could pay out, but I don't know that I would check it before clearing some more dungeons that I knew I needed to do. So I'd be crossing off my Skull Woods right now, I'd be crossing off my Pod, Desert, and Eastern, and maybe checking Pyramid Ferry before I consider doing this. But Bressingham may also be thinking, maybe feeling behind with that late speed booster find and that late mids find, and might be feeling like they need to do a check that they think Strizer won't. It's hard to say.
All right, yeah, we will see if this pays off for Bressingham. So Turtle Rock is one of the longest dungeons in the game, is it not?
Yeah, I think so. You're on those conveyor belts where you can't really adjust your speed at all. If you're in there, you are committed to riding that train as slow as it goes.
Very clean cold stare 5 for Strizer. Bressingham using Hookshot and Vulnerability to dodge the spike rollers. Actual Higgs pointing out that there's not a lot of prizes left in the dungeons we have access to, just the crystals from the bosses.
So, Swamp Palace has a lot of checks. It has 6 different prizes in there. So that's a possibility, but we found the speed booster behind the mirror, and so I think the likelihood is slightly lower that you would find something there. Thieves Town still has potential, right? We got the high jump boots and 1 other item out of there, and I think the big key is always in the front. I can't remember what the 3rd item was, or the 4th item in the front of Thieves Town. I would probably choose to do Thieves Town before jumping on the Turtle Rock play, but I'm not sure. Having that medallion, it's hard to ignore it. But definitely want to clear all of your crystal dungeons first, I think.
Right.
Dolphin, do you like have a notebook or a photographic memory? Because you seem to remember every single thing that is found.
But yes, if he's correct, yeah. So yeah, he is correct. Yeah, I'm pretty sure he's right. So that means only one prize left in the back, plus the crystal, of course.
Yeah.
No, Thief's Town is a pendant.
Yep. Oh, you know, I've forgotten one additional check that you can do when you're in Turtle Rock, which is Mimic Cave, which isn't technically a part of Turtle Rock, but, you know, it's Turtle Rock.
Right.
Is Pet alive? Pet, it was checked. It is the charge beam, so unfortunately not.
Alrighty, let's see what Mimic Cave has for us. Alrighty, looking less and less like Turtle Rock is gonna pay off for Bressingham.
Well, I mean, you got 5 items on Laser Bridge, and many of them will be actual items, depending on how many dungeon items you picked up. Did I see correctly, did Bressingham leave the central chest?
I'm not sure.
Where were the boots? I think Strizer is about to find them in a minute or two. They're here in Pod.
Yeah, they were in Harmless Hellway.
Alright, everybody hold your breath for Bressingham here. Gonna find out if there's a payoff. Gotta be a little bit careful with that hard count. Oh,
And it pays off! There's our various suit!
Now you're all the way down here. Do you do Trinex? I mean, I guess you do.
Yeah, you're right here, and it's one extra, and it's an extra check with the green pendant.
Yep.
Bressingham absolutely galaxy brained this one.
Yep.
And now Thalphon saying that Trinex also is sitting on the last item, so...
Yep.
Alrighty, very clean Trinex fight from Bressingham. We'll see what that last item is. That's our final sword. That's worth it.
You get a little bit of extra damage from the sword. I think, you know, the biggest difference in the game for swords is from Master to Tempered, but certainly who would turn down a gold sword upgrade?
I think Bressingham is in go mode at this point. He can get to Lower Norfair, which means he can backdoor Meyer.
Yep. The big question, what is the pendant for Meyer? If it's Quake? Oh man. How gutsy do you want to be? You gotta a 66% chance, well, 67% rounded chance that you're in.
You're absolutely correct. Bad King Midas, yes, they need to beat Mother Brain, beat Ganon, then complete the endgame sequence of whichever one they did last. Okay, Rushlight is saying that Bressingham should go straight to Lower North here. I agree with that call, and I think Bressingham is gonna use the transitions to. Okay, yeah. From here, Bressingham's gonna go to the Mountain Cave, transition to the parlor, transition to the business center, and head to Lower North here that way.
That's definitely the most efficient way to route it, right? The only way that bites you is if Misery Mire is a Quake, and Quake is hidden in Upper Norfair, which would just be. I think that's just a shot in the knees no matter what, whether you do that play or not. So, I guess that's pretty much the right call no matter how you slice it.
All right, Bressingham heading down Frog Speedway. Do you think he goes for right to Lower North here, or does he no, Croc is out of logic because Croc is not out of logic. You can go there the vanilla route via Crumble Tower, but yeah, he's going right for Lower North here.
Okay, now if you're going that way, you gotta check that one item on your right that you can see from right there. If that's Quake, you go and you pick it up. I mean, if you're going this direction, you don't snub that scout.
And that's one silver arrow immediately to Helmasaur King's Dome, and Strizer has completed Palace of Darkness.
You know, that's actually...
Ooh, takes a hit from the Nahim.
Relkin has asked, do we have any beams? Holy moly. The answer is no. There are no beams in this scene. There's a Spazer
Holy
on
crap, you're right!
but, and charges on Ped, but, you know, heck that.
Alrighty, so I think Bressingham goes east. I think Bressingham goes left at this point, and uses the Picky Chozo to drain the lava so that he can check Showcase Showdown. Or I could be wrong.
You might
That's an option
go.
too.
You know, I think what Bressingham is thinking here is you got to go check what that medallion requirement is first, right? Get that information, and then make a decision on what you want to do next. And the refill at the ship suggests that Bressingham is prepared either way to defeat Golden Chorizo if it is needed, but probably not ready to commit to that until they see what the medallion requirement is.
Pull hard at the screw attack item. Alrighty, Bressingham into the mire area.
Deep breath. Bombo.
It's Bombo, so Bressingham is in go mode. And yeah, he's gonna do mire immediately.
Yep.
Sub 2 hour go mode is really good.
Yep. Yep, and being able to go mode the rest of the dungeons and all of Lower Norfair is, you know, you're almost certainly looking at a sub 3 finish here.
All right, so yeah, since Bressingham is in go mode, this is absolutely his race to lose at this point.
Yeah. I mean, it's not that Strizer is doing bad things right now, it's just that he doesn't have that information, right? So, the longer... I mean, he's still getting things done that Bressingham eventually has to do, but the longer he goes, the longer that he puts off Turtle Rock, the more uncertain his fate is.
Yeah, Pendant Turtle Rock holding the Varia as deep as it could possibly be. Well, almost. The only way it could be deeper would be if it was on Tridax.
Now, Strizer, having picked up his boots from Pod, is going to do King's Tomb and Bonk Rocks here. Definitely two things that Bressingham did as well.
Yeah, Bressingham is absolutely in go mode even without that charging because he's got over 100 missiles and almost 60 supers. Motherbrain's first phase has 3,000 health, and you need to hit her with at least 18 projectiles total to break the glass all the way before the fight can transition. Phase 2 has 18,000 health, takes normal damage from all sources, so that's 60 supers, 180 missiles, or combination of the two.
Bressingham has found the big key to Misery Mire and is going to go directly to the end. There's really not any quality of life items other than Ice Beam that could really help Bressingham at this point. Not even Flute really helps.
Power bombing the Metroids it's slower than freezing them with the Ice Beam, but not a whole bunch, especially considering the amount of power bombs we have, meaning there's absolutely no way we'll have to backtrack for refills.
Yeah, I don't know how many missiles it takes to defeat a Zeb.
12.
12 each? Okay. So, yeah, I guess with their super count, they're probably fine.
And again, if Bressingham wants to, all they have to do is destroy the Zebatites, then backtrack to the refill room and reload missiles there. Strizer heading into the back of Skull Woods to fight Mothula.
Strizer already knows that he's found both items here, so this is a straight shot to Moth for him.
Right, one silver arrow apiece for Vitreous's small eyes. Very cleanly done. And then Vinny himself can take one, but not a second.
Yep. I think Vitreous is the only boss in the game that can survive more than one silver arrow other than Ganon. It's a testament to how difficult Vitreous can potentially be in a randomizer, right? You show up there with green mail and a fighter sword, you're gonna have a bad time.
Meantime, Mothula is just such a gong show. Conveyor belt floor, moving spikes, Mothula's attacks. Who thought that was a good idea?
Yeah, I don't know. I don't even think Mothula is really the boss of Skullwoods. I think the conveyor belt is the boss of Skullwoods.
Alrighty, Bressingham immediately heading for Desert to finish that up. Most likely after he does Desert, he'll take his mirror portal back to the Dark World, and then head for Ridley.
The real question is, what's Bressingham going to do once they defeat Ridley? I do believe that it is slightly faster to backtrack through the lava rooms and try and get a green gate glitch to get back into A Link to the Past as quickly as possible.
He absolutely has the energy to do that.
Yeah, it depends on how many supers he's got left over and whether or not he's willing to farm them and how well he does the green gate glitch at the end. I know it's kind of a crapshoot sometimes. Sometimes you get that green gate on your first try, and sometimes it takes 14 super missiles.
Strizer heading to finish Desert. He's probably thinking the Pyramid Fairy at this point.
Yep. And unfortunately, this is going to route much better for Bressingham than for Strizer, having had that mirror to go directly from Mire to Desert. Worked out really well for Bressingham, although Strizer got a slight upper hand on Pod and Eastern in the same manner. But the back of Desert is just so short that not having to walk through the rest of it saved a good chunk of time.
Yeah. Bressingham double checks the Desert ledge item. It's blueberries. He's going to go for the Mire Shed here, which he doesn't need to, but I agree with the check. If Ice Beam is here, that'll save him a big chunk of time.
Yep.
Might check Checkerboard Cave too, but you never know.
Looking like they're going to opt to go right back into Norfair from here.
Yep. Alrighty, Bressingham is heading on through Lower Norfair as Strizer is coming up to Landmolus.
I don't think Screw Attack is something you want to find at this point. If you're planning on doing the Zeb skip, Screw Attack just gets in the way, really. But more supers and Ice Beam, those are all great things that could have been found there as well.
Yeah, Bressingham has... Your Bressingham Supermax is 45, so that's enough. So if he doesn't find any more supers, that's another 45 regular missiles he needs to beat Mother Brain. Mother Brain 2, I should say. He'll probably check a few things that are on the way, but I don't think he's going to go out of his way for anything.
Yeah, I think you check PVs of Shame and you check the item behind Ridley, and that's about all you got left here.
Absolutely. Maybe take about 30 seconds here and check the Firefleet E-Tank room. Or not. Yep, Strizer is checking that Pyramid Ferry.
I see a lot of discussion in chat about what's going to happen next for Strizer here, and whether I think that Pyramid Ferry is an extremely defensible play, but the Turtle Rack versus Swamp Palace play is one that Bakht and I kind of discussed earlier on, and given where and when they found that Bombos in ice, and realizing that your flippers were required to get into ice and led you to the Bombos, I think you gotta follow that Bombos breadcrumb before you dip something else, right? And also the mirror led to the speed booster. So that's two two progression items with pretty narrow focuses, right? Your mirror and your flippers that you've now crossed off your list as having found something behind. So I think Swamp's definitely a defensible play, but I think Turtle Rock was the better one, and obviously it's going to be the one that pays off the best for Bressingham here, it looks like.
All right. Ridley has 18,000 health. He takes double damage from supers, so that's 30 you need to put into him. And he is down. Very clean fight from Bressingham.
Yeah, so what happened with the Silver Pirates there on Bressingham's screen was you can actually... There's the Quake Battalion. You can actually run through some enemies in the game if you shoot them and clip through them while the beam is taking up time with its collision, right? And so Bressingham abused that to charge a Shine Spark, and the echoes that fly away from Samus after doing the Shine Spark do damage. Not quite as much as a full speed booster, but definitely enough to kill a silver pirate in one shot. And when you're trying to conserve super missiles, that's a great strat to know.
Yeah, Bressingham is sitting on 7 supers. I would be surprised if he can't get the gate glitch to get back to the portal with that many. And even if he can't, in the worst case scenario, he can go up and around past the Mickey Mouse room and then head through Golterizo, although then he'd have to fight Golterizo.
Alright, well, what we've got here... Oh, Bressingham's choosing to go to the right. Gonna take the safer strat here. Not gonna take a chance with the 7 super missiles. And,
not to mention, he only has 300 energy.
Yep.
I don't think that's enough.
I think you can make it through that room with 4 E-tanks. It kind of depends on how much is in that reserve.
Right.
You do have to be quick, though. I've also never tried using a Shine Spark through there, although when you're already losing energy, that's probably not something you want to do.
Meantime, the Hood and Rupee Special is another one of the 300 Rupee packs. Bressingham is going to check Franker Z. What do we have here? Heart piece.
So if you're in Swamp Palace as Strizer is, and you've committed to this, I'm not sure that you go for the left side. I'm not sure if maybe Strizer feels behind, and that's why he's elected to do left side swamp here. But I think if you're committing to a Swamp Palace play where you're looking for essentially one item for go mode, that you go mode swamp, right? You leave those 2 left side checks and hope for the best.
Alrighty. Looks like Bressingham is gonna. I'm guessing he's gonna take the business center transition back to Link to the Past, because he's done with Meyer. He doesn't need to go back there for any reason. Yeah, he has Skullwoods, Eastern, and then both endgames. Well, Strider just found the screw attack, and is that left side swamp or is that right side?
Left side, yep. Looking like Bressingham going to elect to do swamp first. I think this is Skullwoods, not swamp. 6 of one, half dozen of another between Eastern and Skullwoods here. You just gotta get them both done in their directions. Alright, we've got a lot of stuff that we've seen so far today. If you like what you're seeing, please make sure to follow SpeedGaming channels. And this particular tournament is actually brought to us by rank1.global, which is a sort of like a social media gaming website for gamers. So you can check out, we've got some bios for these runners available on Rank1 Gaming. Rank1.global, excuse me, as well as one for the whole tournament at large. So thank you, Rank1 Gaming, for sponsoring the tournament and providing cash prizes for the top 4 places.
Thank you also to Total, the madman behind the code logic that makes the randomizer work. You have given us all so much entertainment.
And more to come. It sounds like Key Sanity is definitely in the working phase right now.
Key Sanity is being tested in the multi-world aspect at this point. I don't know if it's in the single player yet. Mafia, an absolute joke for Bressingham.
Alrighty, and Bressingham going to go ahead and start at Link's house and make their way on over to Eastern Palace. Meanwhile, Strizer is still on the hunt for that Varia, and at this point, I've almost got to wonder whether a Varia-less Lower Norfair is on Strizer's mind. Probably not. The E-tanks, as you could see when Bressingham was going through Lower Norfair, have not been overly plentiful this season. Bressingham's only got 7. I know Strizer has made a few more checks than Bressingham has, and a few more varied ones in their quest for the Varia suit, but I don't think enough to warrant thinking about that play yet. Strizer's gonna dip Spike Cave here, probably on his way to Turtle Rock. And Strizer's gonna use the cape that he just found in the front of Swamp to get to this location. And unfortunately, no dice there. How many missiles to break the glass? I think we said 18. Bakht is definitely the Super Metroid expert here. It's not a ton. You know, you're going to waste more on Zebs than you are on Mother Brain. And depending on how you run, you may be using supers to kill Mother Brain once you've got the glass broken anyway.
I'm sorry, what were you saying? I had to run off for a sec.
We had a question again about the number of the number of missiles to break the glass for the Mother Brain 1 fight.
It's 18 missiles to break the glass, and then you have to do 3,000 damage. Alrighty, that is Bressingham's 7th crystal. So let's play a little game. There are 22 locations in Ganon Tower where that big key can be. Get your guesses in chat now. I'm going to go with what I always go with. 4 always wins.
Let's go with... I'm going to go with Bob's Torch, number 3, please. And Strizer, not left with too many other choices, is finally going to dive to Turtle Rock and eventually find Varia down on Laser Bridge.
And I believe that will be go mode for Strizer.
Oh, certainly. You know, if you just look at the bosses done and the dungeons done, really the difference here is Misery Mire and Ridley. So this is not a blowout race by any means. It's still a very, very good race overall. I think these runners are the matchmaking was done really well here.
Yeah, this has been a very good race. Bressingham made the right decisions earlier, I think.
Yep. Oh yeah, definitely. And I think that the key really was chasing that Bombos medallion to Turtle Rock. And I'm not sure how early Strizer had the information for Turtle Rock. You know, maybe it was much earlier and thus put out of his mind a little bit, or maybe Strizer didn't get that information until right when he got here. Although that's hard to imagine, given that he had the boots and access to East Death Mountain a long time ago. All right, we are in GT. No further guesses, please. Thank you to our tracker, Zeruvian, for tracking for us today and demarcating our big key guessing game. We're up to 2, and we got a key in Hope Room, so Bressingham is immediately going to take that to the right.
Not going to go for Tile Room, though.
Nope.
Alrighty, Bressingham, this is 3, 4, 5, and 6, I think.
Yep.
And I've lost.
Me as well. Bressingham wisely goes and fetches this key before mirroring out. The last thing you want is for the big key to be behind Armos, right? And then you have no keys as you're climbing the tower. It's something that I think has happened to a lot of runners at some point in their career. You don't go up GT without at least one small key on you, or you
Right.
big fate.
There's 7, 8, 9, 10. Bressingham now sitting on 3 small keys. 11 is super missiles.
Strizer's Mimic Cave and Big Key being done now. Nothing else before him except for Laser Bridge.
And we know he'll find his Varia there. So, number 12 is a red rupee. And 13 through 16 will be the rando room, correct?
Yep. I love that this is called Rando Room, because you have no real business going in here in a vanilla run for almost any reason. But
what exactly is in here in vanilla?
Oh, I have no idea. That's a great trivia question, though.
Well, there's our last tunic, which I believe is French vanilla, correct?
Yeah, the big chest in Ganon's Tower normally has the red tunic, which is also something you don't often see in randomizers, unless you are like hunting a sword for go mode. Well, I think the single arrow is up by Moldworm 2. It is total garbage, I agree. It's no one remembers, so obviously it's not something important. But if anybody wants to do some Google sleuthing, I am interested in the answer.
Alrighty, so you're running out of checks. It could very well be Tile Room at this point.
Yep.
I believe we have 4 checks left. So the 3 behind Ice Armos, and then it could be Tile Room. Got a 1 in 4 shot.
There's your plasma beam.
21!
The blackjack location wins it today.
Alrighty, Bressingham heading up the tower. Meantime, Strizer is finishing off. Strizer finishes off Trinex's elemental heads. And Strizer finishes off Trinex. He'll get his gold sword out of that.
Bressingham has a very clean trap room there. I actually don't know what that room is called, but man, I mess that up all the time. There's definitely a way to go left or right and make a dash without
Alrighty, Bressingham now into the 4th floor escalating gauntlet. Start off with enemies and conveyors. Add a, what are those called? The laser shooters?
BMOS, that's what it is.
Yes.
I should know what they are. I cuss at
So
them
you add a
all the
BMOS, then you add spikes, and you add a second BMOS. Oh, this guy trolling the crap out of him. And then finally, you add ice to the equation because as you do.
Thank you, Thalfon, for the answer. Rando Room is 2x 10 arrows in the top chest and 2 blueberries in the bottom. Oh, that is terrible.
That's all? Yeah, why? Alrighty, Moldorm 2 being a bit of a troll.
And I gotta wonder why, Strizer walked right by Ganon's tower. You're at Turtle Rock. Oh, right, he doesn't have Mire done. He was probably thinking about routing it that way. The same as I was, and got tricked.
Yeah, but yeah, since Flute has not shown up, our logical access to the Mire area was the cross-game portal. Bressingham shows us his authorial process with the Wizrobe massacres.
And this is one of the great showcases of good use of the Cane of Samaria. Just so efficient to clear the rooms this way.
Yep, and there was the Wizrobe Massacres 2 Electric Boogaloo. One of these days we'll get the Wizrobe Massacres 3 Tokyo Drift. Now, Bressingham needs to be careful here because if the torches go out and close the door at just the wrong moment, you'll despawn the entire top of the tower.
Okay, Strizer is doing the same thing that Bressingham did here before, checking that medallion requirement first. And there's a mirror shield.
Alright, so that tells me that we missed Cape or Burna somewhere because those are your... Cape, Burna, and Mirror Shield are your logical access to Laser Bridge, correct?
Yep. But Strizer picked up the Cape in Swamp Palace.
Oh, I didn't see that. That must have been when I had to run upstairs.
Oh, yep.
So, Pendant Turtle Rock hard required for the various suit, and Pendant Swamp logically required for the cape.
That's just gross.
No kidding.
And Bressingham finishing their climb. Time for some geometry.
I think it's trigonometry. No, you're right, it's geometry. I'm wrong. Alright, starts off with a 1. Gets a 2. Can we finish off with a 3? Very possibly.
Yeah.
They both hit at the same time, so 1, 2, 2, 1. Still very clean.
Yep. Agonometry, I like that. That's pretty good too.
Oh, that's great.
And I know that Bressingham chugged a red potion at some point. I don't know if he's got anything in his back pocket for Ganon, but red mail, gold sword, silvers. This is Well, it's as easy as this Ganon fight gets, anyway.
All right, gold sword is 6 slashes for the first 2 phases, correct?
It's 6 or 7, I think. I can't remember. Probably 6, because I'm pretty sure tempered is 12, so it's probably a...
Right, is Zeruvian confirming in chat 664. Stop teleporting!
Strizer, where you going, buddy? You got the big key. I guess he's hunting that ice beam.
Alrighty, Bressingham gets the torch glitch, which functions by relighting the first torch before the second one can go out. That way the second one will never go out. That's 2 silvers down.
Got a chance for a double here.
Going for a double. He gets it. Get your singles in chat because we got bacon.
Okay, and Bressingham going to definitely use that reset to get back to the ship. I'm probably going to need a refill here. Although I'm not precisely sure what's going on with Bressingham's stream here.
Maybe. Yeah, clearly, the hard reset took, so. Alrighty, so 55, 145, he comfortably has the end mode. Yeah, I agree with the decision to refill here. So, once he's in Torian, the Metroids will take 3 power bombs apiece if... The Metroids will take 3 power bombs apiece, because I believe they have 1,000 health, the power bombs do 200 damage to them, and they can be hit by each one twice.
Yep, definitely. This is why you'll see a lot of runners group up the Metroids, not only because it saves on power bombs, but having them all close to you on the screen also ensures that they take both hits from the power bomb damage.
Alrighty, Bressingham's... This is unusual. Bressingham's audio is fine, but his video is lagging a little bit. And of course, as soon as I say that, it resolves itself.
I think you're magic. Full stop. Strizer abusing the cape to get a couple slashes in on Vitreous as well as Little Vitreous. I don't know what the little eyeballs are called. But,
all right, I just call them juniors.
Juniors.
All right, so Bressingham has all seven of his link to Strizer has all 7 of his link to the past bosses done. He just has to do Ridley and then do the end games. Bressingham playing a little safer since he's starting to run low on energy. At this point, there's absolutely no way he's going for baby skip. He doesn't have the energy. He has low enough energy that it's not going to save any time. He'll have to refill anyway. Plus the fact that, again, we have seen no beams. So,
actually, Bressingham does have the plasma beam right now.
Well, that's right. But plasma beam was in Ganon's tower, but that's it.
But wisely choosing not to turn it on because it actually does no good at the end of the game here. So this is the only time I've ever seen where you don't want to turn on plasma beam when you get it. Itty bitty vitties, I love it. It's perfect. Without charge, Plasma Beam does not do any damage to the Metroids or to Mother Brain, so it does not do you any good. And when you can use it for anything, you're going to have the Hyper Beam anyway.
All right, Bressingham remembering to face right as the Metroid drops him. That shortens Samus's stand-up animation by about 3/4 of a second.
I think that's a function of the Mother Brain fight, actually, right? Because she goes into that kneeling animation. So, they only made that animation for left-facing Samus and counted on you going to the left through Baby Room. And so that's kind of why that happens the way that it does.
I never knew that. The more you know.
I am a fountain of useless information. And
Today, it actually would not be faster because Plasma Beam pierces enemies. Wave Beam pierces geometry. Yep, Bressingham doing the sabotage the way God intended.
God and Deer Force, anyway.
That's fair.
So what did we say? 55 supers, 18 regular missiles, and another 15 regular missiles. Yeah, we're pretty good.
Actually, more than 18, because you have to... The phase has 3,000... The head here just has 3,000 health, but you have to hit at least 18 projectiles to finish breaking the glass.
Yeah, it's like a weird overlap, right, where you are hitting both the glass and doing damage to Mother Brain, which is why the math works out kind of weird.
Once the glass is cracked open, which I think takes 5, any that hit Mother Brain will damage both her and the glass, but if they only hit the glass, they won't damage her.
Strizer gonna snub that Quake pickup. No thank you.
Mother Brain firing the ketchup beam there. You also saw onion rings, tater tots, and french fries. Alrighty, Bressingham taking damage, so that this way Mother Brain only has to fire her Rainbow Sherbet beam once.
Meanwhile, Strizer's going to be making their way out of Lower Norfair. We'll get a chance to see if he decides to take the route back through Lower Norfair. And it looks like it looks like he picked up an energy tank at Power Bombs of Shame. And I'm wondering if he scouted that before doing Ridley and said, hey, I'm going to need this going backwards. If so, that's a really heads-up play.
Yeah, that's exactly what he's doing. Very clean reverse amphitheater.
Yeah, he only took, 2 full E-tanks of damage there, so that's pretty...
Yep. Meantime, Tracker Zeruvian saying the Power Bomb Shane was only 20 rupees, so it's more likely that he crystal flashed. And Bressingham pointed to Mother Brain 3, 36 shots with the rapid fire hyper beam. Strizer gets the gate glitch on his second shot. Very nice.
The lag beam. You're not wrong, Mad King Midas. And that's actually why Bressingham was firing the beams from so close to Mother Brain, and why lots of other runners do it, is a lag minimization strategy.
Alrighty, Strizer has all of his required bosses done. He's heading up Brigand's Tower, and he's just got the 2 end games left.
Yep. Yeah, it looks like Strizer's missing Misery Mire on his tracker, but he has in fact done that, so he's headed off to GT as well.
Alrighty, this will be a sub 240 for Bressingham easily.
Or, you know, the planet will blow up. One of the two.
Goes for the Moonfall strat, which involves using the moonwalk effect, which you can turn on in the special game options, to fall off of a ledge in a specific way, which results in you falling with uncapped vertical acceleration.
Yeah, I think that is an underflow of your falling velocity. I think.
No, it's just an acceleration-related glitch. Normally, your falling speed is capped. With Moonfall, it's not capped.
Ah. Well, I'm pretty sure the planet blows up no matter what. It's just whether you're in there or not.
Alrighty, get your GGs in chat for bressinghamvoigt, who has won the race with an SRL time of 2:39:36. He must have marked his down a little late. Alrighty, Bressingham has agreed to be interviewed, so we'll get him in here as soon as we can. So unfortunately for Strizer, this is the end of the road for him, but a great performance tonight.
And Strizer opting to go left is more than likely going to find his big key a little bit sooner than Bressingham did.
Alrighty, we are now joined in chat by bressinghamvoigt. Congratulations on a well-played seed.
Thank you.
So real quick, start us off. The first thing I ask everybody, in terms of the rounding decisions you made throughout the seed, what did you feel best about and what did you feel worst about?
The worst thing the thing I felt worse about was the Ice Rod Cave thing. Even though I do that pretty much every seed I play, is I orphan Ice Rod Cave instead of Padina. It turned out to be not a big deal just because more bottomed me really, really hard, so I lost maybe 5 minutes of time there. It wasn't that bad. And the best thing was definitely going to Turtle Rock. That was pretty lucky.
Yeah, as Sinus said, you were following the logic of Flipper led to Bombos and then Bombos led to Turtle Rock. It absolutely worked out for you.
Yeah, I was trying really hard to just pull the Very Suit out from Turtle Rock, deep in the logic.
So yeah, something I noted about that was that Strizer found the cave in Swamp Palace, so that was the logical access to Laser Bridge since the last shield was in the top of Ganon's Tower.
Cool, yeah, I noticed I was not in logic getting the Very Suit.
There's a lot of weird logic stuff in this particular seed. You know, finding that first glove and gauntlet was really good, a really good find, but it actually stayed out of logic long after you found the other glove in Meridia.
Yeah.
But a couple of tense moments in that race, particularly we were very, very concerned and holding our breath when you were doing a little heat run into Ice Rod there, and I gotta say it's awful big of you to admit when it's too risky to go check Crumble Tower. I think that was the right call.
Thank you. Yeah, it was. I had just a little not enough health. I don't think I could have tanked the hit from any of those little guys in the room. But luckily, Vario ended up being the last thing I needed, so I didn't need to search there, which is nice.
Yeah, about the only good thing that could have been there, I think, would have been the Ice Beam. But yeah, I think the heads-up Turtle Rock play was huge. Chasing that bomb post was, well, it made the difference in the race. So good on you for that routing. But yeah, the gravity suit leading to the first set of gloves was really gross, and I think waiting until later to check Meridia actually helped you a lot there, because you got to route it in with speed and catch the fire rod there as well, rather than missing it on the first dip, even if you would have had that information.
Yeah, I felt like that was something that Strizer probably didn't do.
Yeah, Strizer chased the gravity suit pretty much as soon as he got it.
Okay, yeah.
That was the big divergence, is you went to wreck ship first and Strizer followed the gravity suit to Meridia.
Sorry, go ahead.
So Strizer got both gloves and the hammer before Dark World?
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah, although neither of you got the Moon Pearl before you had the hammer and the glove, so I think it was a little bit moot. But, you know, it made some of his overworld checks a little bit quicker, but I think since you ran out of overworld checks, eventually, you know, you caught up on that fairly quickly, and you also dipped pod pretty early, and while the boots didn't lead to anything, and I kind of suspected that they wouldn't given the desert was not boots locked, they still gave you a leg up in overall mobility throughout A Link to the Past for the rest of the seed.
Alrighty, Bressingham, the other question I generally ask, letter grade scale, how much fun was this for you?
On a what scale?
Letter grade.
Letter grade. A. I mean, this was a really cool seed. I feel good about it. It was really lucky play, the Turtle Rock thing. I knew when I did that, it was either that or Swamp or Smith Loop.
Yeah, Strizer did the Smith chain and it didn't pay off.
Yeah. So it was really like a 50-50 between TR and Swamp, but the big thing I had for TR was that the Fire Rod is behind Speed, and then Bombos was behind the Fire Rod. So...
Remind me, were you the one who checked pad, or was it Strizer?
I did not check that.
Pad had charge beam today.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, that was pretty gross. Trying to think of what the only other thing that could have hurt you that didn't was, you know, when you went to Turtle Rock, you had access to both of the red crystals, which is something that Strizer did end up chasing, and you didn't. But that sounds to me like a check density play on your part, right? You've got 5 checks in or more in Turtle Rock since it's a green pendant compared to only 2 in 2 other dungeons you'd already been in. So that was probably the better play from that standpoint as well. So good on you for that.
Thank you. Yeah, I forgot. It took me a while to actually realize, because at one point I knew that Meridia was the last place in Logic and that there had to be a glove there. And I don't remember when I realized it, but I realized it like too late to route it in, really. That worked out.
I did think it was clever of you to... You had a couple nifty fake flippers. First, the one to get you to East Dark World. So that was a really sweet bomb jump. You don't get to see that very often, but it was well used. And then another one that got you to the Meridia portal, and routing that back to front, I think is something that a lot of runners will overlook in the long run, but it is faster from my understanding.
I agree.
Yeah, sorry, I should actually ask you questions instead of telling you things. It's not a very good interview when I just tell you how good you are. But yeah, seriously, it was a bit of a routing mire, but good on you for cutting through it. And do we know who Bressingham's next opponent is going to be? I haven't looked at the bracket in a while.
I'm not sure. I'll see if I can. Where are the brackets located? I actually haven't taken a look.
They're in the Discord. Let's see here. Yeah, pinned in the general channel. Let's take a look here.
It's actually not decided yet. I've got 2 matches first.
Righty.
Dragon Dark, and Taylor, or Barnage.
Okay. Well, those are all great players, so I'm sure, well, it's going to be an uphill battle no matter what from here for you, and Strizer is certainly a very competent player as well, so definitely enjoy that win. And 239 is a great time. It's one of the quicker ones that we've seen. What's your PB, Bressingham?
221, and my second best is like 238 or something, so this was top 3 ever.
Yeah, well,
Really worked out.
221 pretty smoking.
Yeah, that one was very
Yeah, this is. I'm not sure I call this a jet scene, but it's completed very quickly.
Yeah, and then one of the other things that we talked about a little bit is that you're relatively new to this community, are you not, Bressingham? Maybe in the past 6 months or so?
probably the past year or so to SMZ3. Maybe
Well,
less.
certainly making a name for yourself in a hurry.
Yeah, I guess so. I've been working on stuff, I guess.
Alrighty. Trying to think of what else chat might. Hey chat, do you have any questions for Bressingham?
Are you?
I have a question.
Go ahead. What do we got?
Where's Screw Attack?
Oh, that
Left
was
side swap.
yeah.
Wow.
How about do you have a favorite trick in Super Metroid, or are you more at home in SM or A Link to the Past?
I think I'm better at SM than Link to the Past, even though I've played Link to the Past longer. I don't know what my favorite trick is, really. There's a lot of really cool stuff. Anything that looks good is my favorite. Moonfall, that's probably it. It looks cool to watch.
Yeah, Moonfall's a really fun one.
Yeah.
Especially because I think Moonfall is probably one of the harder ones to learn because you have to start compensating for having the moonwalk on.
That is the hardest part of that trick. Actually doing the moonfall is actually pretty straightforward. It's the change in control scheme that gets you for the rest of it. That's really an interesting point, Bach.
Yeah, it's easier if you start out with playing with it on.
Yeah, I remember growing up when I had a copy of Super Metroid on the Super Nintendo. I tried having moonwalk on a few times, and I could not make it work. So, Bressingham, any opinion? You have any? Who would you, out of the 3 people you could possibly face, who would you feel most comfortable facing?
I don't know. I want it to be Barnage because I've raced him a lot before. I've never raced Dragon Dark or Nataylor, so I haven't seen them play, but Barnage I've raced a lot.
Now, Dragon Dark, I think, is fairly new to the combo randomizer. I know him mostly from his GDQ runs of Zero Mission and Fusion.
Oh, cool.
And then Super Nintailer is a sleeper pick for a lot of folks. He's pretty good at SMZ3, but doesn't race all that often. So I'm not surprised to see him doing well. I wouldn't count SMT out of this at all. And I never know what I'm going to get whenever I race Super Nintailer.
Alrighty, Sinus, do you have anything else you'd like to ask Bressingham?
No, I think we've covered just about all of it.
Alrighty, Bressingham, I think we're about ready to let you go if you're ready to go.
Okay. I'll be in the chat. I'll stick around for Strizer to finish. Thank you, guys.
No problem. Thank you for the great show.
Yep.
Take care.
Hey, Bressingham.
Thanks.
Alrighty, well, we've been talking to Bressingham. Strizer has made it most of the way through Torian. He's just got Mother Brain left.
Having done a few extra checks here, Strizer's got even more super missiles with which to dispose of Mother Brain. Probably won't need to use any regular missiles at all. And has taken those suits off to hasten his damage reduction against the baby Metroid. And not quite gonna risk going into Mother Brain with Power Suit only. Can't say that I blame him.
Absolutely a good decision to take the time and put the suits back on.
Yeah, I mean, how much damage does Rainbow Beam do with just Varia? Is it 7 E-tanks or 6 E-tanks? It's quite a bit.
Varia is the suit that does reduce the Rainbow Beam. So with Gravity Suit only, it does 600.
Okay. So it would have been doable, but probably not advisable.
Yeah.
These guys are getting stuck in the intentionally sticking themselves in the glass there to fire off a couple of cheap shots into Mother Brain. I love it.
Alrighty, Strizer has 68 super missiles. He can miss up to 8 of those and still be fine. And even if he does miss more than 8, he's still got regular missiles to make up the gap.
And Strizer also going to damage down to 3 E-tanks so that they immediately enter the cutscene and save a little bit of time. If you're not doing stand-up, 3 E-tanks is the target with Varia and Gravity, as I've just learned, but with Gravity only, 6 E-tanks would be your target.
Alrighty, let's look forward a bit to the matches we have coming up. We have 5 in the next couple of days. Tomorrow at 1:10, we have Liam Atlas versus Dorkmaster Fleck. That'll be on SpeedGaming 3. Then tomorrow at 6:10 p.m., we have Pizza 34 versus Kentalome. That'll be on SpeedGaming Prime. Then at 10:10 p.m., we have Super Nintailer versus Dragon Dark. We were just talking about that. But that does not have a channel assigned yet. Then on Tuesday, we have Ninjembo versus Crossfire at 12:10, and Asher versus Cheese Nader at 7:10. Sinus, are there any of those races you're particularly looking forward to?
So, I think, well, definitely the Super Nintailer and Dragon Darch match. Those are, if I were to call any match in that list a wild card, it would be that one. I have absolutely no idea whatsoever how that one will turn out. I'm very interested in watching. Asder versus Cheesenator, those are two very highly rated SRL runners. That's going to be a battle of the titans as well. And then on a personal note, I'm also a big fan of Cross Product. He knows a lot about Super Metroid and A Link to the Past games, so I'm interested to see how he's going to do. You always see something unexpected in a cross-product game, so that's definitely, on a personal note, one that I'm interested in watching. What about you? Any highlights coming up for you?
For me, the highlight there is absolutely Asder versus Cheesenator. Asder is an amazing player. He's a lot of fun to watch, and Cheesenator is also fun too. I've done commentary with him as well.
I haven't had the pleasure yet. I've raced Cheesenator a couple of times, and that usually doesn't turn out well for me. So, but yeah, that's definitely going to be a match to catch.
Alrighty, Strizer is making his way through the escape, gets the moonfall there, just like Bressingham did. And just heading back into the old. Yeah, this shaft is basically identical to the way it looked in the original Metroid. Alrighty, Strizer up into the parlor. Let's see if he saves the animal, since he's the last one out. Guess not.
Nope, gotta preserve that sub 3.
Alrighty, folks, get your GGs down for strizer86. He has finished with a time of 2:59.36, exactly 20 minutes after Bressingham.
GG, Strizer.
Alrighty, Strizer has left the SRL chat, so I don't know if he's going to come in for an interview. He did not answer when I asked. Alrighty, I see him he's in the Discord, so I guess he will be. Alrighty, Strizer86 has joined us in chat. Well played. And how do you feel?
Thank you. I don't know. I have very mixed feelings. I felt like my routing was good. I felt like my execution was pretty clean. Given that I haven't been exactly playing in the last little while. The last couple of weeks I've been caught up doing some Chrono Trigger rando with some friends. And I've started delving into the Metroid Prime rando the last couple of days. So I've not been staying fit, but I actually felt like my execution was really good. The search for Varia was obviously a little bit crushing. But I was kind of shocked the difference was as big as it was. So I'm guessing that Bressingham probably went to Turtle Rock fairly early and had early Varia.
Yeah, he chased the Bombos medallion pretty much as soon as he got it, and then finished Ice Palace.
Okay. Yeah, I figured that was going to be the big difference maker, because I mean everything else I felt like rounded out and connected really well. Obviously didn't get anything out of Swamp Palace, so I knew that was just going to be a straight time loss. Screw Attack was helpful in Lower Norfair, but not necessary by any means.
Right.
The Seed with no beams, basically. That is the first time I've seen charge on Ped. And then the very, very late Plasma, which was not at all useful to the point where I didn't equip it. So no beams. I was happy I got Snail Clip. That was the first time I ever attempted Snail Clip in a race, so that was kind of cool.
Really? Yeah, because it was so clean and you nailed it on the first try. I would not have guessed that.
Yeah, and that was also the first time I've done it without high jump boots. And I think Nito said the window is a little bit smaller without high jump. So I was shocked that I got it because the line actually looked a little off to me. I felt like the snail was probably a little bit high for what I was used to. So I was shocked that I got it. And then finding the sword, I was kind of like, at least it paid off a little bit. That was kind of cool.
All right, so Strider, my standard couple of questions. In terms of the routing decisions you made, what was the best one you made, you think? And what do you think the worst one was?
I would say my overall routing just felt clean. I don't know if there was necessarily a best routing, but I liked that my early Meridia play exposed that I was going to find Speed Booster and obviously the second glove upgrade, as well as the whereabouts of Fire Rod. So I felt like my early Meridia play was really strong because it got me that in addition to the extra sword. Obviously, the end, I just felt like I kind of got randoed. And when I knew I was on the search for Varia, I kind of cringed because it's one of those things that's like, once I find it, it takes a whole bunch of locations off the table. So there's not really going to be a benefit to finding it now. And it can be so many places otherwise that it's just kind of one of those crapshoot items. I've had Go Mode Varia a couple times, and it's not a Go Mode item that I tend to enjoy for that reason. But it can happen to anybody. I'm just happy that I pulled it the sub 3 for what was very close to an all dungeon seed.
Indeed. And yeah, that cape you found in Swamp was actually the logical access to Laser Bridge because that last shield was against his tower and Berna was MIA.
Yeah. Obviously we didn't have mics on, but when I found the mirror shield, I immediately shouted out Nito because it's his least favorite item in the game, being that it's 2 sprites big, and he's always kind to remind everybody about how shields cause lag. So it's kind of a running joke in our group. So as soon as I found it, I'm like, that one's for Nito.
I gotcha. Now the other question I usually ask, on a letter grade scale, how much fun did you have?
Oh, I had tons of fun. I'm super appreciative to all of the tournament admin and everyone participating. Like, we had a huge body of players right out of the get-go, so it was obviously a big task organizing it and rounding everyone up and setting up the groups and the brackets and whatnot. So I'm always happy to participate in the SMZ3 tournaments. I was a little bit sad that we had to wait so long since 2018. So maybe,
I know that took quite a while.
Yeah, maybe shorter gap until the next one, and I'll be very happy to participate again. But all in all, I can't be upset. I made it out of groups pretty comfortably and very happy with my play. Even like I feel like I last locationed an item, which can happen to anybody. And play-wise, I feel like I hit a lot of things today, especially in my Super Metroid play, that I thought would maybe be a little more rusty on my lack of play. Because Metroid Prime is obviously a very different beast, and I'm not even somebody that really delves into the 3D realm, so I'm just kind of throwing myself at the wall with that one over the last couple of days. And I did a couple seeds this morning. So I literally just went from playing a 3D game to doing this, which is a little bit of a different spirit of it, but it's tons of fun. I hope that we have another one soon, and I look forward to seeing what the end of the brackets hold. There's obviously still a lot of strong runners left over.
I gotcha. Now this seed specifically, what would you grade it?
You know what? The seed was fine. I felt like the seed provided us a lot of options, and that's in the end where it bit me. Like, grade A seed, it was comfortable because I knew early on, looking at hearts, looking at my weapons, like I felt early on like it was okay. It's not going to be one of these seeds where we're at 4 hearts green mail for 45 minutes to an hour in. You know, we're not going to be heart starved and running around Dark World early access, getting bodied in 2 hits. So it was, if anything else, it was comfy, but it was too comfy to the point where that's where the end options and availability really bit me.
Right now, Bressingham is moving on. There's a round of a first round match, Dragon Dark versus Nin Taylor. The winner of that goes on to face Maximum Barnage, and then that winner goes on to face Bressingham. Who are you hoping to see going forward?
I don't follow the specifics too much, to be honest, in terms of the brackets. I wish the best of luck to everybody. I've got some friends and community members that are still participating, but I won't necessarily go ahead and play favorites with that. Looking at the top, there's a lot of people that could take it just based on skill sets alone and potential to get randomized and last location something. You've obviously got your really strong players like Asger and Aussie still eyeing for it, as well as a ton of other people that are some well known, some are sleepers. That's kind of the cool thing is, you know, you look at SRL and you have your collection of people, but there's a lot of people that participate that don't necessarily go the SRL route on the regular. So it's cool to see, and I'm really happy with the level of participation that we had this tournament. That overall makes me really happy.
Alrighty, Sinas, you have any last words for Strizer?
Not too many. The early game logic was actually insane, right? So your space jump and your glove and gauntlet were locked by speed booster as well because of where the bombs were in Rex ship. Yeah, so that was just wacky. So I think you had a good head on your shoulders going into Meridia early, and you were definitely holding your own. And it was honestly you made a bunch of really defensible plays after Ice Palace, right? And I think you almost both went into Ice Palace at the exact same time, you were really close, or you were both in there in the same time frame for a little while. And I definitely would have done what you did and gone and cleaned up those red crystal dungeons and cleaned out all the regular dungeons first, which I think is smart, and you got no time lost there. And it's just, chasing that Bombos was who knows type kind of thing. It could have been a total red herring, or it could have been what it was this time. So
yeah. And the other thing too is, like, after finding Varia, like, I didn't even know what Misery Mire Medallion was at that point, right? So I found Varia and I had to cringe and go, okay, well, I have to finish off Turtle Rock, because what if the other emblem's in here, and what if it just happens to be Quake at Mire? I couldn't risk it. So I'm happy with the way it turned out. I can't say, like, with my style of play I would have made any different decisions. Obviously I got quite a bit in terms of collectibles as a result, and it bit me in the butt this time, but I'm always happy with how I choose to play my seeds, because I find the majority of times it gets me a really comfy time. It may not be the fastest all the time, but unless you end up in a situation like this where it's like, all right, I got one item and it can be anywhere, it tends to pan out generally well for me, which is nice.
Yep. Any last thoughts on the seed there, Strizer?
Not necessarily on the seed, but thanks again to all of the tournament admin and whatnot. Thanks to my fellow racers for participating. Everything's been really good in terms of experience and setting up times with everybody, which is always cool. I know there's a lot of work that goes in the background, and thanks to you guys for doing the commentary and our trackers, because that's obviously a lot of work too. So make sure to hit up those people with a follow. And other than that, with this is kind of the tie-up of my obligations of things that I've had over the last couple months. So this is kind of going to be a neat point for me where I can explore whatever I want to do, and be probably chewing on the Prime Rando a little more to see how I feel about that. But I've been having a lot of fun with that, and the Chrono Trigger Rando's been going good. We've been doing some new test logic, so all the randos is basically what I'm looking forward to.
All right.
Alrighty, well, I think we're about ready to let you go, Strizer. Any further last words?
No, I just hope you guys have a great night, and I'll catch you later.
Alrighty, we'll catch you later as well, Strizer. And with that, folks, I think we're about ready to close it out for the evening. Thank you for watching, and Sinus, you have any last words?
Strizer thanked me for doing work, but it was a ton of fun. Bach, thanks for co-commentating. Thanks Zeruvian for tracking for us. Thanks Minded Me for setting us up with the room, and all the admin and staff. And thanks everyone for watching.
I had a great time as well. Thank you, everybody. I've been Big Bach, he's been Sinus, and we'll see you next mission.